Chapter 320. 5 points turned into 6 points. Naruto's thoughts landed on the giant egg and he saw a standard 6-pointed star. 4 of the sharp corners of the 6-pointed star were entwined with golden threads. Among the 4 golden threads, 2 were the most dazzling. They should be the young attribute obtained from 9 tails and the magnetic release from 1 tail. 9 tails said, "You can try, fusing with Nibby. She's good at a special fire release. Let's see if a golden thread can appear." Just fire release? Given the nature of this golden thread, apart from the fusion of 9 tails young attribute, the other attributes would only appear in the Kekii Genkai. The Kekii Genkai was the result of the fusion of the 2 chakra attributes, but what did that mean? At the end of the day, what exactly was chakra? Naruto had flipped through the history files of this world. Although there was no record of Kagaya Otsutsuki devouring the fruit of the Tree of God, it was recorded that during the Warring States period, there was no such thing as chakra under the samurai world power system. In other words, chakra appeared after Kagaya Otsutsuki devoured the fruit of the Tree of God. The Tree of God was a tree planted by the Otsutsuki family from an alien planet to plunder the vitality of this world. From this point of view, chakra was the external manifestation of life on this planet. It was the power of this planet, or rather, the rules of the world. Kekii Genkai, Kekii Genkai, Kekii Genkai. It was the essence of the world's power from being scattered to being gathered. It could also be said that it was the path from a mortal to a god. And the chakra of the 9-tailed beasts is the closest thing to the existence of God, stripped from the body of a god. In that case, if he could fuse the power of the 9-tailed beasts together, main body, say something. Hearing the clone's pleas, Naruto snapped back to reality. Well, you can stay here for now. Perform well. The Earth Whale clone was overjoyed, followed by endless praise. Naruto's mind at this time was focused on fusing the attributes of the other tailed beasts and was not in the mood to listen at all. He said casually, "Shrink into." Naruto suddenly thought of the idea of raising a husky in the past. But he felt that Shiba Inu was a better match. Turn into a Shiba Inu. The shape of the earth whale had shrunk from a rolling, chubby whale to a chubby, big-faced Shiba Inu. His body was yellow, his face and belly were white as snow, and his eyes were round. At first glance, he looked like a pushover. Naruto subconsciously raised his hand and touched the little Shiba Inu's head. So hard. He withdrew his hand in disappointment and turned to leave the martial arts field. As soon as the door of the martial arts gym opened, Naruto found Hinata waiting outside. "Chick, what's the matter with 006? Hinata shook her head. "No, I'm just a little worried, so I came to take a look." Naruto recalled that he had talked about his doppelganger in the public chat. Then, did Hinata come here because she was worried that he had gone crazy? Naruto regretted it. If he knew that she wouldn't believe him, he wouldn't have said it. "Oh, I'm fine. This dog." This was no longer his doppelganger, right? If he called his doppelganger a dog, it would feel weird. "I kept it for practicing the rock release doppelganger." That's it. Well, I'll go find the president and discuss the next mission. Naruto turned and walked toward the president's room. Naruto felt a little uneasy. Hinata didn't roll her eyes at him just now, did she? If she saw it, she would think that he was chatting with her. In that case, she would really think that he was a fool. Should he explain? But the more he explained, the worse it would be. Naruto braced himself and walked toward the president's room. The Shiba Inu didn't know what Naruto was worried about, and the original body didn't connect with him mentally. After seeing Hinata, the first thought that came to his mind was, "This is my wife." This was the influence of Naruto's original memory of the world. Later, he changed it to the girl that the original body liked the most. Since that was the case, as an excellent pet, it had to display its utmost flattery and flattery. As a Shiba Inu, how to please its mistress. Naruto's original memory told him a way, which was to wag its tail. The key point of wag its tail was to wag its tail quickly. It was to show its closeness to its mistress. So, The Shiba Inu's tail swished like an electric fan. Who had seen a Shiba Inu with a tail swinging like an electric fan? Hinata didn't see it. She looked at the dog with amusement and said, "You're the doppelganger that doesn't want to disappear, right?" Seeing that Hinata knew about it, the Shiba Inu thought that the original body had told Hinata about it, so it obediently barked and wagged its tail harder. Hinata squatted down and stroked the Shiba Inu's head. She praised, "You're so cute." The Shiba Inu was very excited. The mistress praised it. Then it had to work harder. For some reason, a helicopter's propeller popped out of its head. One tail turned into three, fixed into a propeller, and rotated. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Shiba Inu rose into the air. At this time, Naruto had turned the corridor and walked into the president's room. "President, let's go to the country of thunder for the next mission." The president was blowing smoke rings. "Why do you suddenly want to go to the country of thunder? Are there any good missions there?" Naruto nodded repeatedly. "There's a mission similar to finding mineral veins. It'll be easy to do." Mineral veins mission. The president's interest was piqued. This week had been too comfortable for them. They played cards, drank tea, and chatted in the belly of the earth whale. They didn't have to do anything because Naruto took care of everything. "Okay. Let's go to the country of thunder. We'll leave tomorrow." It was a very simple answer. Naruto was relieved. If they went to the country of thunder, they would be out of the Woodleaf sphere of influence. They wouldn't have to worry about encountering Woodleaf's ninjas at any time. That was one of the reasons. Secondly, there were 2 human pillar force in the country of thunder. He wanted to try fusing with Nibi and Hachibi. After leaving the president's room, Naruto heard Hinata giggling in the corridor. What was so funny? One must know that Hinata rarely smiled like this. Naruto walked back and turned a corner. Damn it. A Shiba Inu was flying. Wait, this Shiba Inu. Could it be his? It could only be his. Even if there was a Shiba Inu in this world, it couldn't fly away. Even a ninja dog couldn't do that. Naruto linked to the Shiba Inu. "What are you doing?" The Shiba Inu replied flatteringly, "As a pet, I'm just making my mistress happy." What a strong reason. Naruto actually forgot what to say for a moment. Moreover, Hinata was indeed laughing happily. Naruto braced himself and walked over. This dog. Naruto wanted to pretend that he was controlling it to make Hinata happy, but he told the truth. "This dog is the clone that I said I didn't want to disappear." Chapter 321. Country of Lightning, the Clown Emperor's Hot Spring Hotel. The same setup, the same layout, gave Naruto the illusion that he hadn't left the country of fire at all. "You're here. Is there any interesting mission in the country of lightning?" Unlike Naruto's expectations, not only was 01 not black, but he was also very fair. After Hinata greeted the other party, her small eyes stared straight at the guild leader's back. Her meaning was self-evident. "Where's the story you were talking about? Where's the little black kid you were talking about?" "Liar. Big liar." The guild leader pretended not to see and warmly greeted 01. "There is indeed an interesting quest. However, before we talk about it, I'd like to introduce our new member, little friend 007, Zhang Xian said with a smile. "Don't be fooled by his height of 1.7 meters. This guy will only turn 13 in a few months." Naruto bowed again. 01 greets big sister 01. Hearing Naruto's voice, 01 looked at Naruto in surprise. Then, under Hinata's wide-eyed gaze, he pressed down on Naruto's chest. She said in disbelief, "You're a boy?" Naruto said with certainty, "I'm a boy." The president cleared his throat and coughed. The situation is like this. This little boy and little Six are an unmarried couple. Little Six joined us first, and then I generously accepted him as well. That's it? Naruto despised him. Bullshit. In order to join, he had to go through a very harsh test before he was reluctantly accepted. If it wasn't for his talent, he would have been kicked out long ago. 01 nodded absent-mindedly. Then, he looked at Naruto's clothes, which were clearly different from the others. Then why isn't he wearing the team uniform? At the mention of the team uniform, Naruto's face couldn't help but darken. 04 and 05 covered their mouths, trying to suppress their displeasure. The guild leader smiled and said, "Well, because of my carelessness, there was an accident. You know that our guild was originally made up of girls, so I told the people at the exchange to follow the original plan. This 04 couldn't hold it in any longer. PFFF. Then, he laughed out loud without a care for his image. Even 0 and 5 laughed. The president also wanted to laugh, but he tried his best to hold it in. His face was flushed red as he said that his team uniform is also made into a female version, so it doesn't fit well. 0 laughed. The guild leader couldn't help but laugh as well. 04 imitated the way Naruto had put on the team uniform that day and said, "That. President Sis, did I send the wrong message? Are the buttons on the back? I can't buckle it myself." Pfft. The president spat. Under the mask, Naruto's face was even redder than a monkey's butt. That day, when he woke up in a daze, the president asked him to put on the team uniform. The most unbearable thing for Naruto was that bastard Kyuubi sent a video of him wearing women's clothing to the shared chat area in the form of a memory. Little Gunny and the others were laughing like crazy. Is it that funny? Everyone's body continued to twitch. The most exaggerated one was 005, who was almost lying on the ground. Hinata was still the best. Hinata didn't laugh. Naruto turned to look at Hinata. Hinata was trying very hard to hold back her laughter. From her red neck, it was obvious that Hinata's face was as ugly as his. Naruto sighed and said, "Laugh it out. Don't hold it in." Hinata held back her laughter and shook her head. "I'm not laughing." However, 005 came over and scratched Hinata's itchy flesh. Then, Hinata's defense system collapsed. When everyone caught their breath, 10 minutes had passed. However, it wasn't that they didn't want to laugh, nor that they had laughed enough. They didn't dare to laugh because their stomachs hurt from laughing. So, they tried their best to control themselves. However, Naruto's temper rose. Didn't they want to laugh? They had to laugh. So, Naruto began to tell everyone a joke. The battle lasted for another half an hour. 007, I swear I'll never talk about you wearing female clothes again. Really? 005 was the first to beg for mercy. I'm going to die because of you. I'm laughing so hard that it hurts. I won't talk about little 7 wearing female clothes either. Spare me. 001 said. I swear, if I mention little brother 007 wearing female clothes again, I'll laugh myself to death. 005 said. I also swear. But before the oath was finished, 004 giggled. She was laughing at 001, it hurts to laugh, 001, Jeje, you're making me laugh. Naruto's face darkened as he imitated the sound of a chicken, cluck, cluck, cluck. Laugh. All of you, keep laughing. Then, the girls changed to a sincere version of the apology, so Naruto stopped teasing them. Then, he talked about Naruto's ability and the mission he accepted this time, to find a unique lightning gem vein in the Land of Lightning. After talking about the mission, Naruto said to 001, 001, Jeje, do you want to have a left arm that you can move? Inside the perception barrier, Naruto could clearly see that 001's left arm was a lifeless artificial limb, and it couldn't move. This is also the reason why 001 gave up her ninja career. After all, most ninjutsu require hand seals. Losing one's hand is almost equivalent to losing all ninjutsu. The heated atmosphere suddenly quieted down with Naruto's question. 004 glared at Naruto, then looked at 001 with worry. 001 was slightly surprised, but she didn't show any displeasure. She smiled at Naruto and asked, a moving artificial limb? I've never heard of such a thing. Naruto made up a story and said, I accidentally saw it in the wood leaf. Someone invented a moving artificial limb. If you need it, I'll bring you one the next time I come. 001 smiled brightly. Okay, then I'll have to trouble you, little 7. 004 breathed a sigh of relief seeing this. She was afraid that 001 would get angry because of talking about her lost arm. Then, everyone had a big meal, then arranged their rooms according to their accommodation in the Land of Fire. During the night, Naruto and Nine Tails began to plan. Nine Llamas Sensei, this time is different from last time. Nine Tails' identity as the human pillar force cannot be exposed, and neither can my identity as Naruto. Under this premise, do you think we can successfully obtain Nibi or Hachibi's soul force? Nine Tails sat cross-legged on the ground, his left hand supporting his chin while his right index finger tapped on his thigh. With your current soul force, it shouldn't be difficult to invade the other party's spiritual world. After all, you only need to invade the human pillar force's spiritual world. After invading, you'll have to come into contact with those two guys. This shouldn't be difficult. You just need to taunt them a bit and make them attack you. This way, their chakra will come into contact with your soul force and you'll succeed. Naruto nodded, but he still felt that it wasn't reliable. Nibi and Hachibi's human pillar force were both recognized by the human pillar force. They could use all the power of the tailed beasts. And Nine Tails' power couldn't be used to avoid exposing his identity. He also couldn't use Ice Escape. Using Earth Escape to fight head-on? Naruto thought for a while and sighed. I feel the plan to come to the Land of Lightning was a bit impulsive. Nine Tails thought for a while and agreed, it does seem a bit impulsive. Why don't you try learning illusions? With your spiritual power, I think it's more reliable than using Earth Escape. Naruto said in disbelief, learning and applying? Are you kidding me? I'm going against the human pillar force. Not a primary school student. Nine Tails tilted his head. Who's a primary school student? Naruto. Chapter 322. Land of Lightning. Kumogakure. This is a country built on a stone forest. The so-called stone forest is a forest composed of stone mountains. Tall or short, fat or thin, their appearance is different. From a distance, they are straight and slender, but from a close distance, they are towering and imposing. They are like stone pillars that reach the sky. The houses of Kumogakure are built at the tip of these stone forests. Each and every one of them resonated with each other from a distance. When the earthen yellow stone mountains connected together, these houses seemed to be floating in the air. It was a magnificent sight. Naruto stood in the distance and looked at Kumogakure. In the perception enchantment, a group of Kumogakure ninjas returned from the outside. Naruto jumped down from the tree, and his body melted as soon as he landed, just like a ginseng fruit that fell to the ground. 5 minutes later, the ninjas of Kumogakure rushed back. Naruto found the right time and directly invaded the person's body with spirit transformation jutsu. The whole process was completed in minutes and seconds. In the eyes of outsiders, the person just dozed off and there was nothing unusual. But in fact, when the person woke up from his doze, the will controlling the body was replaced by Naruto. Half an hour later, Naruto successfully mixed into Kumogakure. Next, it's time to inquire about the news of Nibi and Hachibi human pillar force. Coincidentally, when Naruto followed the team to the Raikage's office building and handed in the task, he happened to meet one of them. Nibi human pillar forces 2 Yujito Nibi. She was a girl who was 7 meters tall. She was tall and slender, and when she walked, she was as quiet as a cat. However, what made Naruto more concerned was that her hair was wrapped in a white cloth strip, leaving only a tuft of hair at the end, which looked like a lion's tail. She was a delicate woman. She even put on eyeliner and red rose lipstick. Naruto was about to continue looking. The 2 Yujito Nibi turned their heads after feeling Naruto's gaze. Seeing that Naruto was still staring at them, they frowned and said impatiently, "Hey, what are you looking at?" Naruto smiled calmly and said, "There is a hair on the corner of your mouth, and it's about to go into your stomach." The two Yujito Nibi froze, raised their hand and touched it, and there was a hair in their mouth. At this moment, Naruto's companion pinched him with her hand. Naruto turned around. It was a girl. Naruto was familiar with this scene. In the past, when he looked at other girls, Hinata's hand would reach out and pinch him. This girl likes this boy. Naruto made a judgment in his heart. After completing the mission, Naruto was called by his teammates to leave Raikage's office building. Before leaving, Naruto looked back at the two Yujito Nibi again. They were also here to hand in the mission. After leaving, the girl who pinched Naruto scolded, "That's Yugi-sama, how can you look at her like that?" How should I answer? Naruto only knew that the more he spoke, the more likely he would make mistakes, so he smiled and waved his hand. "If there's nothing else, I'm going to buy something to eat." The girl stared at him and came over like a follower. "I'm going too." Naruto politely refused. "Don't you want to go home and take a bath first?" The girl insisted. "I'll go home and take a bath after eating, it's your treat." Naruto. At the same time, in a nameless ravine in the Land of Lightning, Naruto's doppelganger was leading the team to look for veins underground. The Shiba Inu needed to transform into the Earth Whale because of the mission, and it pulled the team to rummage through the earth. In the belly of the Earth Whale, several girls were sitting together on a sofa, with a square table in the middle, playing poker. The president complained, "It's been a week, right? We still haven't found the lightning gem mineral vein. Could it be that the mineral vein is really extinct?" Naruto's doppelganger said, if it was easy to find, the mission wouldn't have been posted at the underground trading house. The president nodded. "That's true." Then he played his cards, a pair of fives. 04, who was beside him, held her cards tightly, and her eyes lit up when she saw a pair of fives. "I'm a pair of sixes." Following that, a pair of twos was played. 05 scolded, "Aya, President, you're letting them go again. You could have put up the order." The president replied, "What's the point of putting up a pair of twos? They're both king of small and king of small. 2 is the daddy, no matter how you play, you'll still lose." Then it was time to shuffle the cards and start the next round. But when the cards were shuffled, Hinata suddenly said, "Wait, Sister 04, you're hiding your cards." 04's hand, which was about to sneak into the pile of cards, froze. But she reacted quickly, planning to press her hand down first and then deny it. But the president wasn't slow either. He grabbed her hand and said, "Tisk, tsk, tsk, little girl. Hiding cards. Tsk, 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 you're promising. Tell me how you're going to be punished." Trying to hide cards under Hinata's eyes, 04 couldn't think straight. Naruto shared his vision with his doppelganger and watched the scene in front of him with amusement. On the other side, Naruto was still wandering around with the girl. The girl ate wherever she went, her mouth never stopping. He paid for everything, but of course, it didn't matter. After all, the money wasn't his. What he cared about was when the girl would leave. "Well, it's getting late." The girl's cheeks were puffed up like a little hamster. She looked up at the sky and nodded. "Is it too early?" Then, she continued to follow beside Naruto. Naruto couldn't chase her away tactfully, so he could only say directly, "Isn't it time for you to go home?" The girl's mouth was still full. She replied, "Yes, it's time for me to go home." "I'll be leaving then?" Naruto nodded repeatedly. The girl took a few steps and then retreated. "Aren't you going to send me off?" Naruto said half-heartedly, "I was just about to go home." The girl blinked. "That's perfect. Our houses are in the same direction." Naruto. After sending the girl home, Naruto happened to find this body's house. The house was quite big, and it was all empty. Naruto walked around and found a mourning hall. The parents of this body were enshrined in the hall. Simply put, the person under Naruto's control was a lonely person whose parents had both died. But with just this little bit of information, it was far from enough to not be discovered by others. Naruto's thoughts sank into this body's mind. In this body's mind, a weak soul was being imprisoned in a cage by Naruto. Naruto said with a stern expression, Have you thought it through? Will you cooperate with me or die? The person looked up at Naruto and said in an even colder voice than Naruto, I will never betray the village. No matter what you want to do, I won't let you succeed. This wasn't the first time Naruto had communicated with this person, so Naruto wasn't surprised by this guy's answer. He put on an act with a cold expression and transmitted the scene before him to the Spiritual Network's public chat area. What should I do in this situation? Can someone give me some advice? Do I have to torture the body I'm controlling? Also, are there any methods to read memories? Teach me, I'm in a hurry. Chapter 323. Threaten him. If he doesn't obey, turn him into a eunuch. This was the unreliable Guni's suggestion. But the key point is, Naruto is now controlling this body, and this method always feels like castration. Even if he knows that the knife won't fall on him, it's easy to leave a psychological shadow. Therefore, this trick was not taught to Naruto, and it was abolished. Threaten his family. If he doesn't listen to you, kill all his family members. This was the aggressive little Guni's suggestion. But if his family members are dead, what can he threaten? How about using the little girl to threaten him? Naruto tried, but it still didn't work. The man's answer is Karu, which is the girl's name. As a ninja, he has long been prepared to die for the village. It had to be said that this was a very ninja answer. Don't waste any more time with me. If you are a ninja, rely on your own means to achieve your goal, otherwise, I will only look down on you. Very stubborn. Naruto looked at the man seriously and said calmly, As you wish, since you want to try, I am happy to accompany you. The man said calmly, This is what my father taught me before he died, and I am proud of my father. Naruto didn't say anything more. Without the man's cooperation, Naruto can't do anything? He just doesn't want to use it. Taking advantage of the night, Naruto wandered a few times in the wild forest near Kimogakure, found several poisonous herbs that damaged the brain, and made a simple poison, and drank it. Then he controlled the man's body to go home and sleep. Life is so precious, why don't you people know how to cherish it? Naruto closed his eyes. The next day, when the man woke up again, he was already in the hospital. His eyes were blank and lifeless. Pretending to be sick? No, he's really stupid. Brain nerves damaged, memory loss. No information? It doesn't matter, then he can become a fool and start over. The next 2 weeks of hospitalization observation. Naruto began to gradually control the man's body to comply with the doctor's examination and act like a normal person. After being discharged from the hospital, Naruto began his own plan and began to investigate Second Last and the Hachibi Human Pillar Force. Finally, he set his sights on Second Last Human Pillar Force and the 2 wooden puppets. That was because the Hachibi Human Pillar Force was often with Raikage while the Second Last Human Pillar Force was often alone. However, there was also a small accident. Naruto's stalking was discovered. Are you following me? The 2 Yujito Nin, who had been lost, suddenly appeared behind Naruto. The hook in his hand rested on Naruto's neck. How was he discovered? Naruto had been tracking from a very far distance, and Naruto had also rebound this body with a summoning card so that he could borrow the perception barrier provided by the system to pay attention to the enemy's movements at all times. Turn around. Behind him, the 2 Yumu people scolded. Naruto slowly turned around. Speak. Why are you following me? Don't quibble, I found out long ago that you were following me. You found out long ago? That's troublesome. Naruto looked at the 2 Yujito Nin. At such a close distance, Naruto discovered that the 2 Yujito Nin's faces were a little small and exquisite. They had typical palm-sized faces and their rose-colored lip gloss looked very sexy. Naruto suddenly had an idea. He deliberately stuttered. The 2 Yujito Nin hollered. What about me? Hurry up and tell me, how did you graduate from the ninja academy? Did Raikage ask you to follow me? Naruto waved his hand, looking a little flustered, and his face was a little red. No. I'm following you for my own reasons. The two Yujito nin asked, "What's the reason?" Naruto seemed to have mustered his greatest courage and took a deep breath before exclaiming loudly, "I like you." Well, this is Naruto's way of thinking in an emergency. The advantage of this method is that he can even follow the two Yujito nin openly in the future. The two Yujito nin were shocked by this answer. Naruto shouted very loudly. The passers-by in the streets and alleys heard it. No matter which world or race one was in, there was no need to be afraid of things getting out of hand. For a moment, there were people who cheered, whistled, and even clapped their hands and cheered. The human pillar force of Kumogakure is different from the wood leaf. The human pillar force in wood leaf was hated by everyone. But here, whether it's Nibi Yujito or Hachibi Killer Bee, they have many supporters who love them. Here, they are the heroes who protect the village. What did you say? Do you dare to say it again? After the two Yujito nin recovered, the shame on their faces disappeared and was replaced by arrogance and indifference. There was even a hint of threat in their tone. Naruto shouted, "I like you. I don't know why, but I feel familiar at first sight." The whistles around became louder. Someone cheered, "Good boy. You have guts. I support you." The shouting slogan made the two Yujito nin's face even colder. Naruto looked at him with a sincere face, and there was a look on his face as if he was facing death. The two Yujito nin raised their hands and grabbed Naruto's shoulders, then sent Naruto flying with a big windmill, and said without any politeness, "You're too weak." Naruto was put down in a fight, and the whistles around him became hissing again. The two Yujito nin jumped away like a cat. At this time, someone recognized Naruto, or to be precise, recognized the person controlled by Naruto. "Isn't this Naruto?" he said as he came over and helped Naruto up. Naruto also recognized the other party. The other party was a female medical ninja of Kumogakure. He had seen her in the hospital. "What happened to Naruto just now? Didn't you lose your memory?" Naruto pretended to be stupid and said, "I think I know that girl in the past, and I like her very much." The female medical ninja shook her head and laughed. "Everyone knows Yugi-sama, this is not surprising, but you actually confessed to Yugi-sama. Well, I found that you're quite cute after losing your memory. However, as far as I know, during the days when you were in the hospital recovering, another girl came to see you every day. I think you should talk to that girl. Well, although she's cute, don't do stupid things again. Fortunately, Yugi-sama didn't hit you hard, or you would have to go to the hospital for a while." The medical ninja checked Naruto's physical condition and left after confirming that there was no problem. Naruto was relieved. As for the girl mentioned by the female medical ninja, it was Karu. It's just that she should be on a mission these days, or she would definitely be by his side now. Naruto's heart for a while, there was a trace of sympathy in his heart. Not sympathy for Naruto, but sympathy for the girl. Or, after using this body, I'll cure him and give him back to the cute girl? It's impossible to completely cure him, but it's just memory loss. After this idea arose, Naruto sincerely praised himself, "I'm really a good person." Chapter 324. The day after the confession incident, Naruto knocked on the door of the two Uchihan early in the morning. When the two Uchihan saw Naruto, they looked a little unhappy. "You're too weak. If you don't want to be beaten up badly, don't come looking for trouble." Naruto took out the medical record issued by the hospital and said with a sincere expression, "I'm really sorry about yesterday. In fact, I lost my memory because of some things, so I don't remember a lot of things. The moment I saw you, I felt extremely familiar. I thought we knew each other." The two Uchihan stared into Naruto's eyes. Naruto looked back at them with a sincere expression and raised the medical record high with both hands. The two Uchihan took the medical record and casually flipped through it. After confirming that Naruto was telling the truth, their expressions suddenly improved a lot. They said, "Then I should apologize." Before the two Uchihan could finish, Naruto frantically waved his hands and said, No, it's my fault. How could you be wrong? However, after losing my memory, I don't even remember my own name, but I still feel that you're very familiar." I think that in the past, I must have respected you very much. No matter how many times he tried, flattery would not work. Naruto's flattery made the two Yujihans' faces smile. However, the expected scene of them inviting him to sit in the house didn't happen. It was a pity. That I'll leave first. Sorry to disturb you. With that, Naruto bowed deeply again. Then, he turned around and left. Ask me to stay. I'm so pitiful. I even lost my memory. Shouldn't you take pity on me and invite me in for a drink? Naruto prayed in his heart. 1 step, 2 steps. Naruto left. Until the sound of the door closing behind him sounded. Naruto let out a long sigh. Phew. Failure. It wasn't a failure. It could only be said that it was half a success. At least, they talked a little, right? And it changed the first impression. Originally, Naruto had another plan, which was to chase the two Uchihan crazily until the two Uchihan left the village to do missions out of boredom. But this plan, after Naruto's consideration, the possibility of annoying the two Uchihan away was almost zero. The probability of them beating him up was 80%. So, Naruto gave up this plan. What should he do next? Naruto stood on the suspension bridge, which was connected to 2 root stone mountains. The wind blew through the bridge and made it tremble a little. The suspension bridge was more than 10 meters above the ground. Those who were timid wouldn't even be able to take a single step on this bridge. Naruto walked on the bridge. It was slippery because it rained last night. The bridge was still wet. Looking down from the suspension bridge, he felt that the wind between the 2 mountains had gotten stronger, and the bridge was swaying even more violently. Because of the poisoning and amnesia, Naruto was given a 7-day recuperation leave. After 7 days, his captain will come back, and he will resume his ninjutsu training. He's still 7 days. In these 7 days, what can he do? Naruto looked down the bridge. 2 chipmunks attracted Naruto's attention, and he subconsciously leaned forward a lot. The 2 chipmunks were fighting over a big nut. He didn't know if it was because the nut was too delicious, but the fight was very fierce. At this time, the 2 Uchihan's voice suddenly sounded. Hey, do you want to jump down and commit suicide? Naruto was startled, his foot slipped, and his body leaned forward. For ordinary people, falling is inevitable, but for ninjas, they only need to inject chakra into their feet to stabilize. But Naruto had an idea. Why not just fall down like this? With the 2 Uchihan, they shouldn't watch him fall to his death. This way, he can play the beauty saving the hero. Perfect. Of course, it's also possible that they won't save him. If they really watch him fall to his death, then it's okay, they can just change the plan. So Naruto fell. Falling 1 meter, the 2 Uchihan didn't make a move. 2 meters, 3 meters, the speed is getting faster and faster. Naruto dutifully continued to perform. The panic, confusion, and disbelief on his face were perfectly displayed. Even if his face is facing the ground, even if the 2 Uchihan's point of view can't see him at all. 6 meters to the ground, 5 meters, 4 meters. Naruto was ready to die. In his heart, he couldn't help but curse, falling to his death on his face. Won't it leave a psychological shadow? 2 meters. 1 meter. Half a meter. The 2 chipmunks on the ground saw him, scared off the nuts in their hands and ran away. The next step would be to smash his head into mush, right? But at this time, suddenly something pulled his ankle. Naruto felt like he was playing bungee jumping. Before his face hit the ground, the pulling force from behind pulled him up again. Exciting! At the same time, he was relieved. The 2 Uchihan finally made a move. You're really useless. You don't even know how to use chakra? Naruto was pulled back to the bridge, Naruto's little heart thumping. This is not an act. Although he knows he won't die, this free fall without safety protection is still scary. Sorry. I don't remember. The 2 Uchihan looked at Naruto speechlessly. Why are you apologizing to me? I'm not the one who almost died. Naruto quickly changed his words. Thank you very much, thank you for saving me. The two Uchihan shook their heads helplessly and prepared to walk along the suspension bridge. Naruto got up from the ground and hurriedly chased after them, then looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. The two of them walked for a long time, and the two Uchihan finally couldn't help but ask, "What else do you want to do?" Naruto said seriously, "You saved my life, I want to thank you." The two Uchihan waved their hands and said, "No, I can save a lot of fools like you every day." Naruto wondered, "Many people will fall from the bridge?" The two Uchihan shook their heads and said, "No, you're the only fool who fell from the bridge." The two Uchihan continued to walk forward, and Naruto continued to follow them. He still looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. The two Uchihan were a little impatient, and the people around them were pointing at them more and more. Especially when yesterday's incident has already spread throughout Kumogakure. "What do you want to do? If you want to thank me, don't follow me, or I'll throw you off the bridge again and pretend I didn't save you." Although it was a harsh word, Naruto heard that the other party was not really angry. Her ears were a little red, because she was embarrassed by the words of the people around her. The onlookers who didn't know what happened whispered, "That kid is walking with Yugi-sama, what's the situation?" The person next to him said with a face full of gossip, "Maybe that kid did something shocking again, or our Yugi-sama will never look at such a bad guy." The ant next to him was carrying a chicken. "Bad? I think that little guy is very handsome, white and clean. That girl Karu Tion is sticking to him." Everyone looked at him again. Sarui is a rare white-skinned person in the land of lightning, and he's really a little handsome. In front of the two Uchihan, Naruto said, "I want to ask you to give me some advice." "Huh? Advice? I've heard of people asking for favors, but I've never heard of the opposite. You want me to give you some advice? I'll beat you very badly." The two Uchihan intended to scare away the guy in front of them. But she underestimated Naruto, who was possessed by a masochist. Naruto said loudly, "It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid." The two Uchihan raised their hands and pressed on Naruto's shoulders, and directly threw him away. Then from now on, fly. Chapter 325. The First Windmill, the Second Windmill, and the Third Gale. The two Yukinin thought that after making things difficult for this guy a few times, he would back down due to his cowardly personality. But she soon realized that she was wrong. The guy ran back again, but this time he fell into the chicken coop. His body was covered in chicken feathers, and he looked extremely weak. But his eyes were more determined. "Why do you want me to teach you?" The two Yukinin stared at the dusty Naruto, trying to find an answer from his eyes. Naruto answered foolishly, "Because I only know you, and you saved my life." The two Yukinin did not know how to respond to this answer. "You're the only one I know." This sentence sounds so sad. As for the last sentence, she did not understand. She asked, "I saved your life, and you want me to teach you? What kind of logic is this?" Naruto's eyes became more serious and determined. "Because I want to become stronger, so that I can repay you in the future." The two Yukinin wanted to say that he did not need any repayment, but when the words reached their mouths, they could not say it. After all, she was not a heartless person. If she was, she would not have won the love and respect of the villagers. But she did not know that at this time, there was another person in Naruto's mind giving orders. In the spiritual network, Director Guni came on stage. "Look more sincere, don't stare at people, your eyes must be gentle." "Yes, that's it. Be gentler, very good. You must have the feeling of a stray cat meeting a new master." Naruto interrupted, "What is the feeling of a stray cat meeting a new master?" Gu and I explained, "First of all, you have to be cute. Looks are the most important thing, and this body of yours is still passable. Second, you have to be pitiful, desolate, and miserable. Only then will you be able to evoke the sympathy of a young girl. Third, with your acting skills, you just have to achieve the first 2 points. Very good. Maintain this expression. Don't raise the corners of your mouth, bend it down a little, but not too much. Pay attention to your eyes. Don't look away, just stare into her eyes. When men lie, their eyes wander, but it's the opposite for women. You're acting as a man now, so staring at her will make you look more sincere. Naruto stared at the two Uten and couldn't help but complain, "Have I played a woman before?" Guenai smirked. "Although you haven't done it yet, you can try it in the future." Naruto was just about to mock him when Guenai shouted, "Watch your eyes." Due to the lack of time delay in the spiritual world, time was much longer than in the real world. While Naruto and Gunny were talking for a long time, only a blink of an eye had passed in the real world. Naruto's pitiful expression was very well done, and no one knew if it was really effective. 12 seconds after the two of them looked at each other. Just as Naruto was about to give up, the two Yumu people finally said, "Come with me." Success. 5 minutes later, the two Yumu people brought Naruto back to the suspension bridge. Jump down. If you jump down, I might not go back to save you. If you dare, I'll take care of you. For others, this test was extremely strict. After all, one's life was on the line. However, Naruto was not afraid. Just as Naruto was about to jump down happily, Gunny shouted, "Wait. Don't jump down immediately. That'll only make you look like an idiot. You have to hesitate, you have to be hesitant, you have to cherish life, you have to show your desire to live. Only then, when you choose to jump down, your emotions will be more sincere. Only then will it be more convincing, and it will be more effective to poke into people's hearts." Was it that complicated? With a successful case study, Naruto asked dumbly, "What should I do?" Director Gunny appeared again and instructed, "First, hold the rope of the suspension bridge firmly and show your impulse to jump down. Then, step over firmly, but when your eyes look down, you have to hesitate. Your heart must beat faster." Naruto followed Gunny's instructions and firmly pressed on the rope of the suspension bridge. He flipped over the rope and stood on the outside of the suspension bridge. A gust of wind blew and the suspension bridge swayed. The moment Naruto lost his footing, he subconsciously tightened his grip on the rope. Gunny praised, "Very good. Very good. The acting here is on point." Naruto's heart pounded. He replied sincerely, "Nonsense, I was really startled by the damn wind just now." Being startled by sudden weightlessness was a human instinct. It was the same principle as waking up from a dream of falling from a great height. Guenai encouraged him, "Keep it up. Look down." Naruto looked down. 12 meters? Or higher. The owner of the body that Naruto controlled was only as strong as Chunin. If he fell from a great height without any protection, he would definitely die. Naruto looked down at the ground. The two Yuki puppets looked at Naruto. Gunny instructed, "Bend your legs slightly and act like you're jumping down." Naruto did as he was told. "At this time, say a line, 'I believe that you will not let me die.' Then, jump down resolutely." Naruto followed Gunny's instructions and said, "I believe you won't let me die." Naruto jumped. His feet slipped. He was supposed to jump headfirst, but he accidentally fell headfirst again. The ground grew bigger and bigger in front of his eyes. He felt the cold wind blowing on his face. Naruto's liver was still trembling. On the ground, the two chipmunks that ran away earlier seemed to have remembered the abandoned nuts, so they both ran back. But before they could fight for the nuts, they saw Naruto rushing towards them from above. The chipmunks' tails stood up straight, their eyes opened wide as they stared at Naruto who was falling from the sky. Their expressions seemed to be saying, "Fuck. It's this idiot again." Then, perhaps because they were scared or afraid of being splashed with blood, they immediately turned around and ran. The other chipmunk was hesitant about whether to run or run with the nuts. Because it was hesitant, it fell behind the first one. But in the end, it decided to run first. In Naruto's vision, the scenery on the ground continued to magnify. 5 meters. 3 meters. Gunny encouraged him through the consciousness network, "Hold on. Victory is right in front of you." Naruto suddenly had an idea, I don't think she wants me to die. Gunny affirmed, she definitely won't want you to die. Naruto's consciousness projection in the spiritual network shook his head and said, no, I mean, she won't let me choose to die. In other words, she will definitely save me, but she might not take me in after saving me. Gunny didn't understand. You mean, Naruto said seriously, I think I have to go all out before I die. Before she saves me, I should try to save myself. That's equivalent to betting on two sides. One bet is that she will take me in if I dare to jump down. The other bet is that I don't cherish life and she won't take me in. But if I save myself, it'll be a sign of me cherishing life. Betting on two sides, no matter what she thinks, we'll win. Gunny was a little dizzy after hearing that, but he felt that it made sense. He reminded, there's only 1 meter left. On the cliff, second last's dark blue chakra turned into an arm that quickly reached out and grabbed Naruto. However, just as she was about to grab Naruto, the chakra on Naruto's body suddenly erupted, causing a strong gust of wind to collide with the ground. The suspension bridge was even blown up by the strong wind. In the spiritual network, Naruto said worriedly, isn't it too exaggerated? Gunny didn't know how to answer and said perfunctorily, as long as you're happy. Chapter 326. Sarui, the owner of the body that Naruto was controlling, was proficient in the wind element chakra. Therefore, Naruto used the wind element chakra to create a strong gust of wind to hit the ground. Then, he used the reaction force to stabilize his body that was about to hit the ground. Naruto succeeded. Of course, there was no reason for him to fail. It was just that because he was frightened, he went a little overboard. When the gust of wind hit the ground and blew Naruto up, the 100-meter-long suspension bridge was also blown up. This was a distance of more than 10 or even more than 20 meters. Moreover, the wind first hit the ground and then bounced up. Sarui's falling momentum paused for a moment. His face was a little distorted by the wind, and then he was thrown up by the wind. At the same time, the two chipmunks that hadn't run far were hit. Under the impact of the wind and waves, they turned into two furry cannonballs, shooting into the forest with a whoosh. Then, the one that flew in front passed through layers of leaves and crashed into a tree with a dong, directly fainting. The second chipmunk was more fortunate. The first chipmunk crashed into a tree, and the second chipmunk crashed into the first chipmunk. With a buffer, although the second chipmunk was still a little dazed, it still got up from the ground. At this time, the round rolling nut hit a few trees and rolled into the forest in front of the chipmunk's eyes. Gwa gwa! The chipmunk rushed up in a daze. When it hugged the nut, it recovered a little. It looked around vigilantly, and after confirming that there were no chipmunks coming to fight for it, it sighed in relief. Hugging the nut, it decided to run away. However, not long after it ran into the forest, it ran back and kicked the fainted fellow with its furry little feet. Seeing that the other party didn't respond, it hugged the nut and sat on it and began to gnaw on it. It's little but even twisted, as if it was saying that the seat was comfortable. What about Naruto? After being thrown up 7 or 8 meters, it finally stopped and then fell again. The dark blue arms formed by the two wooden puppets and the tailed beast chakra hesitated for a moment before finally grabbing Naruto and lifting him onto the suspension bridge. On the suspension bridge, the two wooden puppets stared at Naruto. Naruto was still in shock. Naruto was worried that the strength he displayed wasn't right and would arouse the other party's suspicion. Just now, he had called chakra from the spiritual network. You pass. I didn't expect you to have a lot of chakra. Barely qualified to be trained by me. The moment he heard this sentence, Naruto felt the same as when he heard that he didn't fail a subject in school. He instantly breathed a big sigh of relief. This was also the first time he felt that it was really ***ing difficult. At the same time, under the border town of the Country of Lightning, in the belly of the Earth Whale, the guild leader angrily threw the cards in his hand on the table. I'm not playing anymore. I've been playing for weeks. It's boring. 04 complained, it's you who always loses. Can't the guild leader remember the cards? The guild leader said righteously, What's there to remember for entertainment? It's boring to play like that. 04 wanted to say that it was better than losing all the time. If he didn't catch 4 twos and 2 kings, he couldn't win. This kind of player. But seeing the guild leader's eyes staring at her, she swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. The guild leader's prestige couldn't be ignored. The guild leader turned around and hugged the back of the sofa. This time, the sofas under the girls were real sofas, and they were custom-made for the Earth Whale. From this, it could be seen that the Clown Emperor Mercenary Guild was operating the Earth Whale as their headquarters. The guild leader even wanted to buy a few mural carpets or something, but he was firmly rejected by Naruto. 07. Haven't you found the lightning gem vein? If you can't find it, why don't we change missions? We saw the Earth Nation mission in the underground market yesterday. I think it's more reliable. Naruto sighed inwardly. They had been in the Lightning Nation for almost a month. The girl's patience was much longer than he had expected. But he still needed to buy some time. Sure. But before we leave, how about we tour the Lightning Nation for a while? Didn't we find a place with great scenery yesterday? Why don't we go camping first? I brought barbecue tools. We can catch some game. Oh right, isn't there a river? We can also catch and grill fish. Camping? Barbecue? 05's eyes lit up. She quickly raised her hand and said, I support. Then, she looked at 04 and Hinata for help. Originally, Naruto thought that 04 was a swift and decisive person who did things her own way. But after interacting with her, he realized that she was the same kind of person as Gurney. They were the kind of people who would never stand if they could sit, and they would never sit if they could lie down. She could be said to be extremely lazy. Now that she heard that there was something fun to do, she immediately agreed. Hinata knew that Naruto was trying to buy time. Hence, she naturally stood on Naruto's side. The president. That's a good idea. Shall we bring 0 here too? There was no reason for Naruto to disagree. Hence, he hurriedly said, sure, we can also replenish the ingredients that we can't find in the mountains, as well as other things. Thus, the Earth Whale turned around and led the crew to pick up 0. However, Naruto was also clear that this method was only temporary. It would be good if they could delay it for 3 to 5 days. At most, it would be a week. Any longer and it would be impossible. What then? If they were lucky, it would be better if they could take on another mission in the Lightning Nation. If not, they would have to think of a way to get rid of Second Last, the human pillar force, as soon as possible. However, the solution became a problem. The premise of the battle was that there had to be an undisturbed space. Otherwise, both the Eight Tails and Raikage would be crippled. Teacher 9 Llamas, do you have any good suggestions? Naruto contacted 9 Tails using the Mental Strength Network. On the second floor of the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute in Snow Nation, Naruto's body was being preserved in a corpse coffin. 9 Tails was in Naruto's body. Although he could still connect to the Mental Strength Network, 9 Tails still felt a little bored. What good suggestions can I have? If you want me, I'll just go out and beat those 2 guys into submission. After the fusion, I'll strictly order them to keep it a secret. Naruto rolled his eyes as soon as he heard the mental projection. Putting aside whether you can beat those 2 guys into submission, even if they don't tell anyone, can you guarantee that the human pillar force won't? 9 Tails said nonchalantly, catch them all then. You don't have to worry about them leaking then. Catch them all? Naruto's consciousness looked at 9 Tails like he was looking at an idiot. If the 4th Naruto was here, would he be able to catch the 2 human pillar force in the base camp of the Thunder Nation? 9 Tails said in disdain, if that kid could do it, the world would have already been wood leaves. Naruto mocked. Do you mean that I'm better than the 4th Naruto? 9 Tails shook his head leisurely and said smugly, no, you're not better than the 4th Naruto. I'm the one who's better than the 4th Naruto. Naruto did not stand on ceremony at all. Instead he said, Bull*T, you've already been split in half and sealed. Why are you still pretending? Ninetales was speechless. Chapter 327. Ninetales was infuriated by Naruto's disdain. Thus, he decided to ignore Naruto. Naruto, on the other hand, could not be bothered with him. Ninetales' suggestion was simply unreliable. It was not even worth considering. Did he think the human pillar force was a radish in his backyard? That he could take away whatever he wanted? Although Naruto had always been a narcissist, he knew his limits. Going to the Lightning Country to kidnap a tailed beast was more suicidal than hanging himself. The Earth Whale returned to the Hot Spring Hotel. Bringing Zero with him, they loaded up a lot of equipment for the picnic. Next, they headed to the scenic spot with mountains and rivers. Naruto's idea was good. However, he soon encountered a problem. He was currently using a clone. How was he going to eat with everyone? 07, why aren't you eating? Perhaps it was because he was a mercenary or because he was an orphan, but the guild leader did not eat elegantly at all. He held a roasted golden-brown rabbit leg the size of 2 palms and stuffed it into his mouth. His mouth was filled with oil. Naruto said half-heartedly, You guys eat first. Eat first. I'll roast that for you guys first. Naruto's clone could not smell the aroma of wild game. However, from the lustrous color of the rabbit leg, he could more or less taste the firm meat between his teeth. It was a delicacy. He was somewhat envious. However, he was only a clone. He would not let it go to waste. However, this trick would only work for a while. As time passed, everyone's persuasion only grew more intense. 04 could no longer bear to watch. She finally brought out the airs of a big sister. 07, you should eat some too. Otherwise, we'll be too embarrassed to eat. After saying that, she turned to 05. Go, switch places with 07. Let 07 come over and eat something. 05 obediently stood up. However, after taking 2 steps, he turned around and pouted at 04. Why don't you go? You only know how to order me around. 04 said matter-of-factly, because you're the weakest. 05 felt as though his face had received 10,000 points of damage. Little brother 007, let me do it. You go and eat something. Naruto still wanted to refuse, but when he saw everyone looking at him, he could only comply. But how was a clone supposed to eat? Here. Number 7. This rabbit is the most evenly roasted. The president handed Naruto a rabbit leg that was glistening with oil. Naruto took it, and took a bite. He was not used to it. He chewed a few times and swallowed it. As he ate, he praised, "It's delicious. This rabbit is quite tender." Nonsense, what kind of meat could harden in the mouth of a rock? Ninetales saw the scene in front of him through the mental link. Because Naruto was using a clone, he did not share any of the taste with it. It could only stare blankly and unconsciously began to smack its lips. At the same time, it imagined how the meat would taste. This meat looks like it should be delicious. Naruto also smacked his lips. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The rabbit leg went into his stomach. At the same time, Naruto did not notice that steam was coming out of his mouth. It was as if the water in a kettle was boiling. Because Naruto's clone was straight from the mouth to the stomach, it was like a vase with a big belly. Not only was the meat hot, but it was also very fragrant. The first to notice was 04. That 07. If it's too hot, you can eat it slowly, Naruto politely said. It's not hot, it's not hot. Zero handed a freshly processed rabbit meat to 05. When he turned around, he also saw the strange scene in Naruto's mouth. He asked curiously, steam coming out of his mouth? Is he practicing ninjutsu? Only then did Naruto notice the problem. He quickly changed the structure of his body and sealed the food in his stomach. Only then did the steam stop coming out. He laughed and said, "Ahahaha, that's a water release ninjutsu. I'm just spitting out a few mouthfuls of steam. Ha 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 ha." Naruto felt very embarrassed. At this time, Nine Tails finally couldn't help but ask, "Can't you summon your main body for a meal?" Naruto bluntly replied, "You're an idiot, I'm an idiot. My soul is not in my body, so I can't control it at all." Naruto tried it before. Unlike his clone can be controlled through the spiritual link, but his body can't. Once the soul turns into a spirit and drains out of the body will completely lose the ability to move. If not for this, he wouldn't have thrown his body into the corpse coffin and used his clone to come out of it. Nine Tails closed his mouth. He was hesitating whether to tell Naruto that he can control the body when Naruto's soul is not in the body. In his imagination, if Naruto didn't find out, he was going to wait for the right time to control Naruto's body and run away. But if he didn't tell, at this time, the president brought Naruto something delicious. This time it was a grilled fish, which was also grilled to a golden color. This was the result of adding some wine when grilling it. Naruto had eaten it before, so Nine Tails knew that it was really delicious. Especially with the best caviar. The taste, Nine Tails couldn't help but shout, "Wait! Don't eat it!" Naruto was startled. His instinctive reaction was that the food was poisonous, but then he reacted. It's a clone, so why is Nine Tails so agitated? Unable to understand, he put down the fish and asked Nine Tails, "What's wrong with you?" Nine Tails closed his mouth and his face turned round. He was still a little hesitant. At this time, the president urged, "What? You don't like fish? It's wrong to be picky." Naruto laughed and said, "I'm not picky. I just want to take another look at the fish before eating. By the way, this fish looks really good." The president rolled his eyes. "You grilled it yourself. If you don't eat it, it'll get cold. You can't even forget to be narcissistic while eating. I give up." Grilled it himself? That's awkward. Naruto felt that his rock clone was about to be embarrassed. The president is looking at me. Then, let's eat. Naruto was about to pretend to be a normal person and eat the fish when Nine Tails shouted again, "Wait. Put down the fish." The startled Nine Tails made Naruto so angry that he almost flipped the table. The consciousness projection flew into a rage at Nine Tails. "Can't you let me eat in peace? What are you doing? Speak." Still not speaking. Nine Tails' round face finally vented its anger and said, "It's a waste for you to eat this fish. You're just a clone. How can you eat anything?" Just as Naruto was about to say something to Nine Tails, such as, "I want to eat it, but I'm also very desperate," Nine Tails finally spoke. Nine Tails finally said, "I'll eat it. Summon your body and I'll control your body to eat." Naruto was surprised. It was the first time he knew that Nine Tails could control his body. "You can control my body?" Nine Tails nodded vaguely in the sealed space of Nine Tails. Naruto said warily, "When did this happen? Why haven't I heard you mention it?" Nine Tails said perfunctorily, "You didn't ask me." Then he urged, "Hurry up. Don't waste time. The fish will get cold soon." Chapter 328. Naruto found a random excuse to leave. He found a secluded place and summoned the corpse coffin that contained his main body. The corpse coffin opened, and his main body woke up from hibernation. Then, he sat up under Nine Tails' control. "All right, I'm going to help you eat." Nine Tails controlled his main body to leave. Naruto quickly called out, "Wait. When did you find out that you can control your body?" Nine Tails said vaguely, "Not long ago." "After you learned spiritualization?" "Something like that." "Not long ago." "All right. If we're talking about time, I haven't been in this world for long. It hasn't even been a year." Naruto wanted to ask more questions. "Are you plotting to escape? Did you use my body to do something I don't know about?" But at this moment, the president came over. 007, while you were getting the seasoning. The president looked at the two Naruto in a daze and asked curiously, "Why did you use the cloning technique?" Naruto was about to speak, but Nine Tails beat him to it. Nothing. I just suddenly wanted to practice. As he spoke, he swept his leg at Naruto's clone at lightning speed. Naruto didn't have time to say anything. All his words turned into 2 words. F***ck. Then, he dispelled the clone as he collided with the trees one after another. The president didn't understand. Do you need to be so violent to dispel the clone? Nine Tails replied, I just wanted to test the strength of the clone. It seems that there's still room for improvement. Nine Tails was in a good mood. He had wanted to beat up Naruto for a long time. Although he only kicked a clone and Naruto felt the pain, he was still happy. One word to describe it was awesome. But, when can I really beat up Naruto? Beat up Naruto? Wahahaha. Just thinking about it made Nine Tails laugh out loud. This scene stunned the guild leader, who was watching from the side. Nine Tails walked towards the dining area. He couldn't wait to have a big meal. At this moment, the president suddenly realized something and said, "That's right, 007, bring out another oven. It's not enough." Nine Tails did not even turn his head as he shouted impatiently, "Take it yourself." This sentence scared the president into silence. Then, he held his breath and muttered, "Just take it yourself. Why are you shouting so loudly?" The president came to the side of the earth whale that was sprawled on the ground like a salted fish. Only then did she remember that the items were all in the stomach of the earth whale clone. How was she going to retrieve them? She couldn't control 07's clone. But just as she was hesitating, the earth whale turned its head and shot her a glance. Then, a door appeared on its belly, and it was very considerate. It was the kind with a lift. The guild leader thought that it was 07's orders, so he went in to get the oven. However, she still felt that there was something different about 07. By the time she returned to the diner, she was sure that 07 was different. 07, who had politely refused to eat, was gone. All that was left in front of her was a hungry ghost that looked like a beggar. It was holding an entire chicken with both hands. Its head was on the plate as it gnawed on it. This. How hungry must one be to be like this? Little Seven, eat slowly. There's still a lot of food. If it's not enough, you can go get more. 007 was also shocked by Naruto's eating habits. Hinata also looked on in a daze. She connected to Naruto through the spiritual network and asked, "Naruto-kun, what happened?" At this moment, Naruto was already regretting releasing Nine Tails. In his consciousness form, Naruto's little face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He said, "Nine Tails is controlling my body." Then, Naruto briefly explained how Nine Tails was able to control his body after using the spiritualization technique. Hinata heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this. But, Naruto-kun, you can ask it to eat slowly. The president and the others are all scared. Naruto sighed and said, "Pretend I didn't say anything." "But it's paying attention to me," Hinata asked worriedly, but the president and the others, Naruto thought of a solution that wasn't really a solution. "Just tell them. I have schizophrenia. That's my other personality." The table full of barbecued meat, enough for 7 to 8 people, was gobbled up by Nine Tails in 5 minutes. Then, it was still not enough. "This is not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. I'll go get some bigger things." Then, it disappeared with a whoosh. The girls were shocked. They looked at each other for a long time before looking at Hinata. Hinata then told them what Naruto had taught her. "Actually, I never told you that 07 has schizophrenia. This is his second personality." 5 minutes later, Nine Tails came back with a big guy. In the spiritual network, Naruto begged, "Nine Lamas, Sensei, can you pay a little attention to your image? Even if you don't care about your image, you're using my body now." Nine Tails replied, "It's because I'm using your body that I don't have to pay attention to my image. Otherwise, I'll lose face." Naruto didn't know if he should say MMP in his heart. Fuck you. Naruto had no time to care about the guild. The only solution now was to solve the matter in Kumogakure as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knows what other tricks Nine Tails would come up with. Suddenly, Naruto found that it was very dangerous to give his body to Nine Tails. Land of Lightning, Kumogakure. In the private dojo of two Yujijin. The two Yujijin taught Naruto how to control chakra. What I can teach you is only the control of chakra, and some experience in using chakra in battle. After all, I'm good at the fire attribute chakra nature transformation, and you're good at the wind attribute, so the help I can give you is very limited. After a few hours of practice in the dojo, Naruto found that the two Yujijin were the kind of people who would help until the end. They taught him very seriously and didn't have any intention of being perfunctory at all. Naruto's attitude gradually changed from casual at the beginning to serious. As for Nine Tails, since he couldn't control it, he simply didn't care. He believed that Nine Tails wasn't really stupid and should be able to grasp the bottom line. Yujijin-sama, I remember that my chakra also has the fire attribute chakra nature transformation talent. I feel that you can also give me some advice on the fire attribute. He wanted to learn as much as he could from his sensei. Just one more chakra nature transformation talent wouldn't expose his identity. So Naruto decided to ask for advice on the fire attribute, so that after fusing with Nibi's attributes and improving the quality of the fire attribute, he could quickly get started. On the other side, Nine Tails continued to eat. Even the size of his stomach didn't limit it. Nine Tails cleverly injected chakra into his stomach and accelerated the digestion of his stomach. Nine Tails' chakra nature transformation talent was quite terrifying, and the food was almost digested in his stomach. As a result, it ate happily, but Naruto's fat was increasing. Chapter 329. In the blink of an eye, 2 weeks had passed. Originally, in Naruto's expectation, the camping barbecue and the like could buy him a week's time. But he didn't expect the effect to be so good, and there was even a tendency to continue. Naruto contacted Nine Tails through the spiritual network and said, "Nine Lamas, Sensei, have they had enough fun and want to leave?" In the Land of Lightning, in the courtyard of Sarui's house, Naruto was holding a fist-sized fireball between his hands. The fireball was crimson, and the flames were faintly rising upward, and Naruto was maintaining it, making the fireball more solid, round, and even. But perhaps because he was multitasking, the flames on the fireball were always a little erratic. On the other side, in the hot spring hotel, Nine Tails was alone, soaking in a big hot spring and enjoying life. His white body was getting more and more plump, and his round face was big and round. Even if he didn't wear a mask, few people would be able to associate this face with the Naruto of the past. "No, I take them to eat and drink all day long. How could they have enough fun?" This sentence was not false. The beasts that Nine Tails caught for barbecue were not ordinary beasts, but powerful guys with chakra, which can be said to be top-quality ingredients. That kind of temptation is not something that ordinary people can resist. But in essence, when a person wants to eat something, in addition to subjective thoughts, it is more about the needs of the body. The simplest example is drinking water. The human body needs water and will be thirsty, and when people are thirsty, they will get great satisfaction by drinking water. And the meat that has been nourished by chakra is of great benefit to ninjas, and can improve their physical fitness. Therefore, this kind of temptation is simply irresistible. Naruto doesn't care what they eat every day, as long as they stay quietly in the Land of Lightning. He continued to ask, "Then how long do you think they will be bored?" Nine Tails said lazily, "How can playing and eating be the same? Just like you can drink water, can you drink enough?" Naruto didn't quite understand, and gave an accurate time. "Can you fight for a month?" Nine Tails replied readily, "No problem at all." With Nine Tails' guarantee, Naruto still felt a little uneasy. Then he looked for Hinata. "How was it these days?" Hinata replied happily, "It's good, 9 Lamas, Sensei can get a lot of delicious food every time." Then, Hinata said, "I've gained weight." Because Naruto called Kyubi Kurama Sensei, Naruto also let Hinata call him that, so Hinata called him that. Of course. Of the ice of time. Of the day. Hinata heaved a sigh of relief, and her eyes lit up. Really? Naruto replied affirmatively, really, you're still very cute when you're a little chubby. Why don't you activate spiritual sharing and let me look at you in front of the mirror? Hinata's body was half wrapped in a bath towel, and the water vapor on her body hadn't dried yet. It was obvious that she had just soaked in a hot spring. She hurriedly refused. Another day? I just took a shower, and I haven't put on my clothes yet. Naruto smirked. Hee hee, I won't mind if you're naked. Hinata's heart beat faster, and her round little face became a lot rosier. She reprimanded, I don't want to. Sister Lingling said that women can't let men see their bodies before marriage. Otherwise, they won't be happy in the future. Naruto wanted to refute, but after thinking about it, he held back. Chatting with a girl was not like chatting with his roommates in the past, where he could spit out anything. In order to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor, he still had to ensure that he didn't let the other party feel that he was vulgar. By the way, Naruto-kun, you're a little fatter now than before. I'm fatter too? It's just a little, it's nothing. Thinking of this, Naruto sighed, then it seems that your meals are really good. Then, the two chatted casually for a while before hanging up. Naruto began to focus on controlling the fireball in his hand. At this time, the fireball in his hand was obviously much rounder than before, and the rising flames were also controlled, no longer floating upward. At the same time, the flames were no longer flickering, but stabilized and continued to rise in temperature. Naruto's hands separated, and the original fireball began to elongate, and then split into two fireballs from the middle. The first step was successful. Naruto continued to control the fireball to split, but when it split again, the fireball was like a soap bubble, and with a pop, it was extinguished. Failure. This was a method of controlling flames that the two Yumu taught him, and it was also an offensive move called the Hairy Rat Flame Jade. When one's mastery of the flames reached the pinnacle, one could even transform the flames into various forms to attack. The two Yumu people liked to turn Naruto into a little mouse, which was also the origin of the name Hairy Rat Flame Jade. The night was silent. The next day, Naruto woke up early and prepared to continue to cultivate at the two Yumu people's home. Walking on the road and looking at the couples holding hands on the street, Naruto suddenly thought of Hinata. Last night, because Hinata was bathing, he didn't see her, but now it should be fine. Naruto contacted Hinata through the spiritual network. What are you doing? Hinata replied, I'm preparing to go out. Today, we plan to go to the southeast of the Thunder Nation for a tour. Naruto said, I suddenly miss you, and I want to see you. This time, Hinata agreed without hesitation. The shared vision was successfully established. Hinata hadn't looked in the mirror yet, and all she could see was the surrounding scenery. So Naruto saw the back of a fat man with long black hair and a somewhat round figure. He asked, Who's that burly woman? Because of the back and long hair, Naruto subconsciously thought it was a woman. However, Hinata replied, There are no fat women here. Naruto was puzzled. The one in front of you. Without waiting for Hinata's reply, the person in front turned around. At first glance, Naruto felt a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen such a round, white, fat face. Hinata giggled. That person is you? You can't recognize me just because I've gained a little weight? F***ck. Naruto, who was in the Thunder Nation, cursed on the street. The person in front of him was himself? Naruto suddenly remembered that Hinata said his body had gained a little weight. But this wasn't just a little weight. This was a few sizes bigger than a kimchi dingji. He looked like a living pig. Naruto was shocked by his own appearance. Just as he was about to argue with Nine Tails, he suddenly had a bad premonition. If this was what Hinata meant by a little bit, then the current Hinata, find a mirror first and let me see you. Naruto took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Hinata quickly replied, Okay. Hinata turned around and was about to find a mirror. At this moment, a few fat pigs of varying heights appeared in front of Hinata. With his own appearance, Naruto guessed the identity of these people this time. They were President 000. Naruto slapped himself on the street. I must be dreaming. Damn nightmare, wake up for me. However, the slap was painful. At this time, Hinata finally walked to the mirror and asked, Am I a little fatter? Naruto. Plop. On the street of Kimogakure, Naruto fell straight down. In a trance, he said, I must be dreaming. This dream is terrible. Who can save me? Chapter 330. Nine Tails. How do you want to die? In the spiritual network, Naruto, who had regained consciousness, roared at Nine Tails. Nine Tails, who was still preparing to leave the hot spring hotel, shrunk his neck subconsciously. There's a murderous aura. But he quickly recovered and retorted, What did you call me? Don't you know how old I am? Naruto replied with a black face. I'm older than you. How can there be an elder like you? Huh? What grudge do I have with you? Not only did you eat me like a pig, you even fed Hinata like a pig. Nine Tails. I'm telling you, I'm not playing with you on this. I'll start practicing wood release now. Just you wait. Practicing wood release? Nine Tails' heart skipped a beat, knowing that he had gone too far. But he felt that he could still save himself, so he quickly retorted, You said that you don't need wood release to deal with me. Are you talking nonsense? Naruto roared. What I said today is bull**T. Just you wait. I'm telling you, this is a big feud. There was a saying that went, a shameless person is invincible. After Naruto used his moral integrity as an insole, Nine Tails was afraid. He said with a guilty conscience, Don't be angry, I'm just a little fatter from eating. Naruto felt like an inflated pufferfish, his stomach was about to explode. He shouted, That's just a little fatter. Huh? I can't F***king see my legs when I lower my head. What F***king fatter? In the hot spring hotel, Nine Tails lowered his head and tried, muttering to himself, Huh? I really can't see my legs. As he said that, Nine Tails bent his body forward again, and finally realized that he could not even bend 90 degrees. It seemed a little too much. Nine Tails felt even more guilty. There's nothing wrong with being a little fatter. Rolling is so cute. He sensed that Naruto's soul aura through the spiritual link had become more dangerous, which was a sign of extreme irritation. Hence, Nine Tails quickly corrected himself. I'm on a diet. I'll go on a diet, okay? I promise that before you come back, I'll return a healthy, well-proportioned, and beautiful body to you. How about that? Sensing that Naruto's aura had finally stopped rising, Nine Tails was delighted, knowing that it was effective. Are you sure you can reduce it? Naruto no longer roared, and his tone became calm. Nine Tails immediately promised, I promise. I can definitely reduce it before you come back. Naruto asked, What about Hinata? Nine Tails promised, I'll help her lose weight too. Naruto nodded his head in satisfaction. He then added, As for the others in the guild, I want to see results in a month's time. Otherwise, don't even think about coming out for a walk again. Also, there won't be any desserts. There's nothing left. Nine Tails wanted to say that if you don't give me desserts, I won't borrow your power, but on second thought, the number of times that Naruto borrowed power from me was pitifully small. Coupled with the existence of the spiritual network, the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute could gather chakra. It could be said that, if there were no major problems, chakra would not be needed at all. And if there were major problems, even if Naruto did not ask, he would take the initiative to give it to him. In that case, his right to speak was almost zero. After recognizing the reality, Nine Tails felt that in the future, he should be a little more stable. A good fox would not lower himself to the same level as others. Country of Lightning. After ending the call with Nine Tails, Naruto took a deep breath. Until now, Naruto still felt that his brain was a little lacking in oxygen. How did they eat? It's only been 2 weeks. It's too illogical. As he was pondering, Naruto recalled the chubby appearance of the president and the others. They were white and chubby like big steamed buns, and they were juicy big steamed buns. Now that he thought about it, it was actually quite funny. Just thinking about their appearance made his depressed mood immediately improve a little. Of course, this did not include Hinata. I really want to run back and take a few souvenir photos for them, Naruto muttered, and then contacted Nine Tails again. That Teacher Nine Llamas, before you take them to lose weight, take a few photos with them first, or you can get a camera and take some photos for them. Previously, Nine Tails was calling Nine Tails, but in less than 5 seconds, he immediately called Nine Llamas back. The speed at which he changed his face was definitely that of a donkey. In order to prevent the little donkey from neighing again, Nine Tails decided to agree to this request. Okay, I'll help them take a few beautiful photos. Naruto replied kindly, well, then I'll have to trouble you, Teacher Nine Llamas. By the way, you don't have to take my photos. Nine Tails quickly replied, okay. Beautiful photos? No way, this was a dark history. In the future. Thinking of this, a sly smile appeared on Naruto's face again. His mood improved a lot for a moment, and he hummed a little tune as he walked to the house of the two Yukinin. After 2 weeks of getting along like master and disciple, the relationship between Naruto and the two Yukinin had changed from unfamiliar to familiar, and there was even a little intimacy between an elder sister and a younger brother. For example, if one day he cultivated late, or if there was something delicious at home, the two Yukinin would ask Naruto to stay for dinner. However, the two Yukinin's appearance did not change much from the past. They always had a straight face and looked serious about everything. Even when he was eating, he was serious and meticulous. Yukinin, I'm here. Naruto's little mouth was sweet to girls, and he called them sister more smoothly than anyone else. Perhaps it was because of this that the girls were very friendly to Naruto, and the men. Most of the men in Kumogakure were full of malice towards him. Naruto walked in the door, and the smile on his face froze, and his expression became solemn. In front of him, the fourth Raikage was standing in the courtyard at this time talking with the two Yukinin. Naruto saluted the fourth Raikage seriously and respectfully greeted him. The fourth Raikage looked at him. The fourth Raikage's skin was the typical dark brown of the Land of Lightning. His face was square, the outline of his face was clear, and his eyes were calm and serious. There was a kind of majesty that Tsunade didn't have. However, Naruto was more concerned about, why does this guy like to show his stomach? At this time, the fourth Raikage was wearing a white robe, and his chest was open. At a glance, one could see the neat and strong dark brown abdominal muscles like granite. Exhibitionist? Naruto was deeply skeptical. The Raikage opened his mouth, and his voice was low and deep. Is this the little guy you were talking about? This sentence was said to the two Yukinin. The two Yukinin respectfully said, Raikage-sama, yes. The Raikage looked at Naruto again, and Naruto's heart tightened. Were they talking about him just now? In order not to cause unnecessary trouble, after familiarizing himself with the Kumogakure, Naruto put away the perception barrier. After all, some people can still detect this method of detection. So when Naruto came, he didn't notice the Raikage in advance, and he didn't know that they were talking about him. The Raikage nodded, and his beard rose. Well, let me try this little guy. I'm also very interested in the person who can make you want to formally accept him as your disciple. The Raikage took a step toward Naruto, and the next moment, he disappeared in a flash of lightning. The Raikage was attacking him. What should I do? Should I dodge or not? Or fight back? And the Raikage just said that the two Yukinin want to formally accept him as their disciple. Chapter 331. Should he fight with Raikage? While Naruto was hesitating, Raikage's figure disappeared in front of him. Raikage's attack speed was extremely fast, but when Raikage launched his attack, Naruto vaguely felt that Reikage was going to attack him. This feeling was very sudden, and he had never felt it before. It was his left calf. Naruto stepped on the ground, and his body moved half a step to the right. Then Reikage appeared behind Naruto's previous position, bent his knee, and it seemed that he wanted to hit Naruto's left knee, but this move failed when Naruto moved away. Reikage obviously didn't think that his attack would fail, and he was surprised. He was surprised and said, "Huh? Interesting." Then he attacked again, this time faster than before. Obviously, Reikage didn't use his full strength the first time, he was just testing. But this time Naruto had the same premonition. This premonition seemed to be a kind of warning sign, which was a bit strange. On the one hand, Naruto wanted to try and see if it would work, but on the other hand, he was hesitating whether he should dodge or not. After all, according to the gap in strength, he shouldn't dodge Reikage's attack. The opponent was Reikage, and his current identity was just Chunin. The warning sign gradually strengthened, and the process in his mind seemed to be extremely long and unbearable. Naruto was itching, and once again he dodged according to his premonition. This time Reikage intended to catch him with his hand. He dodged again. This time, not only Reikage was surprised, but Naruto himself was also shocked. This kind of thing has never happened before. He also fought with the president, but that time, he was in the ground. Could it be that this kind of premonition can only be triggered when the enemy is strong enough? The third time, Reikage attacked again, but this time Naruto didn't dodge and was caught by Reikage. The lightning on Reikage's body crackled, and the electric current passed along Naruto's arm to Naruto's body. Naruto's hair instantly became hot. Motherf***cur. Naruto suddenly thought of another guy who often electrocuted him, Kakashi. After Reikage grabbed Naruto, he realized that he might have used too much strength. Thus, he hurriedly put away the lightning, awkwardly cleared his throat, and praised, "That is indeed a promising talent. He was actually able to avoid my probing." However, the body controlled by Naruto had already gone into shock from the electric shock. The two Uchihan came over and took Naruto from Reikage's hands. Reikage stood there awkwardly. I'm sorry, I accidentally got serious, but don't worry, I know what I'm doing. He'll wake up after a day of rest." Naruto's spiritual body rolled his eyes in Sarui's spiritual world. What the f***ck? Did he have a sense of propriety when he electrocuted her? He still needed to rest for a day. Well, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Take care of this little guy. Reikage left with a gloomy face. The two Uchihan picked up Naruto and walked back to the house. Naruto was surprised. Not the hospital? Are they going to take me to the boudoir? Naruto's heart was a little excited for a moment. But soon he found out that he was wrong, because the two Uchihan took him to a very simple house, which was obviously a guest room. But having the two Uchihan personally taking care of him was also very good. Naruto comforted himself in his heart, but Naruto was wrong again. The two Uchihan just put him on the bed, and then called two maids. Although he didn't want to have an affair, Naruto was still happy to have a little bit of luck with women, and a little bit of luck with women. That way, he could turn into Lu Xiaohui, who was always calm and composed. He could write a good name in the ninja world of 10,000 flowers without a single leaf touching his clothes, and only cultivate his own little loli. The two Uchihan called two servants and left. Naruto had no choice but to try to reconnect his body. The first time, failed. The second time, failed. The state of his body was a bit bad, and the aftermath of Reikage's lightning attribute chakra was still stirring in his body. The connection failed. Naruto could only recall the battle with Reikage. 9 Lamas. Sensei, I have a problem. It should be because he did something wrong. Nine-Tails' attitude was very good, and he even showed an 8-tooth smile to Naruto's consciousness projection. What's the matter? Naruto told him about the battle with Reikage. Nine-Tails didn't show any surprise after listening, and casually said, "Combat intuition, it's not a rare thing." Naruto also knew about combat intuition, but the feeling that appeared when he fought with Reikage was not combat intuition at all, it felt like foresight in advance, so Naruto denied, "That's not intuition, I feel more like foresight." Nine Tails hesitated slightly. From the spiritual link, he could feel that Naruto was not lying or deliberately exaggerating. Then he suddenly thought of something. Yes, maybe it has something to do with the egg. Just now the egg woke up for a while, and then it swallowed a lot of chakra and fell asleep again. You can find someone to test it again. If that premonition is gone, it means it's the egg. The egg just woke up? Then the man and the fox matched the time, and it turned out that when he fought with Raikage, it was indeed at that time. The next day, Naruto's body finally recovered from the shock. "Yugine-san, I want to ask you to be my sparring partner." At the dinner table, the two Yujihans swallowed the last mouthful of food in their mouths. Okay. Naruto wanted to test Nine Tails' guess. As a result, Naruto was continuously KO'd by the Yujihans 6 times. In the 6 times, under Naruto's request, the two Yujihans' attack each time was heavier than the previous one, but the feeling of foreseeing danger in advance never appeared. According to Nine Tails, it was the egg's problem. Your body can't continue. The 7th time, the two Yujihan finally refused to fight. Naruto's body was paralyzed on the ground, and he replied, "I don't think it's necessary to continue." The two Yujihan didn't know what Naruto was thinking, and they thought that Naruto was unwilling to be stunned by Raikage. It's not shameful to be defeated by Raikage. In fact, I didn't think you could escape from Raikage's attack. You've done very well. Naruto got up from the ground. The two Yujihan were very serious, so the attack just now was really heavy, and Naruto felt that his body should have suffered internal injuries. "I know, I just want to try." Naruto endured the pain and replied with a smile. The two Yujihan checked the injuries on Naruto's body, and after confirming that they were all flesh wounds, they said with satisfaction, "Very good, it seems that I have more discretion than Raikage-sama." What's there to compare? Naruto was a little speechless. Then the two Yujihan said to Naruto, "Today's practice will end here, you need to have a good rest, from tomorrow onwards. You will be my official disciple, so in the future, your practice will be very strict. I hope you are mentally prepared." Ah, disciple? Naruto remembered that Raikage seemed to have mentioned apprentice before. So, the two Yujihan really intend to accept him? Naruto was still in a daze, and the two Yujihan praised him. "Your performance today was very good." This tone was the master's praise to the disciple. After saying that, the two Yujihan stiffly raised their hands and patted Naruto's head. Cute. Chapter 332. Naruto had a good time in Kumogakure. Especially after the two Yujito accepted him as a disciple, his life became even more comfortable. After becoming the disciple of the two Yujito, Naruto lived in the two Yujito's house. Every day, in addition to eating and sleeping, he would cultivate and study the nature changes of chakra. He didn't even have to do missions. He didn't know if it was the benefit of becoming the disciple of the two Yujitos or Raikage's guilt for electrocuting him. In short, life was wonderful. But he didn't come here for a vacation after all. He approached the two Yujito in order to integrate the soul power of Nibi. "Yujito-san, what does Nibi look like? Is she fierce?" Taking advantage of the end of cultivation, Naruto asked the two Yujito tentatively. The two Yujito turned around and looked at Naruto. In Naruto's eyes, the two Yujito's serious expression at all times, coupled with the red rose lip gloss, looked quite cold. "Natsuki is not fierce, she's a very cute big cat." Natsuki was the name of Nibi. Naruto knew this. But Nibi is a cute big cat? There are not many people in the world who can say that a tailed beast is cute. Then, "Yujito-san, can you let me see her?" The two Yujito didn't agree directly and said, "I'll help you ask." The two Yujito contacted Nibi, who was lying lazily in the sealed space at this time, wagging her tail. She said rather coldly, "No." The two Yujito conveyed Nibi's message back. Seeing that Naruto was a little disappointed, they comforted him. "You can still see her when you have the chance in the future, or you." Speaking of these two, Yujito hesitated for a moment and said with some embarrassment, "Or you can buy some sashimi that she likes to eat." Speaking of these two, Yujito added, "It's just that she likes to eat fish, it's really not that I like to eat fish." Naruto suddenly realized, no wonder he lived in the two Yujito's house and ate fish for every meal these days. At the same time, he also understood why the two Yujitos could become the perfect human pillar force even though they were not very strong and didn't have any special bloodline limit or ability. While the two were chatting, there was a shout in the courtyard. Naruto heard it seem to say something stupid. Could it be? "I'm here. Bastard, idiot." Original Japanese transliteration. Bakuro, control Mayalo. The person outside continued to rap with a strange rhythm. "Yujito. I heard. You finally. You got an apprentice? Stupid, stupid, stupid." Naruto's mouth twitched. There was no doubt that the person who came was Killer Bee, the Hachibi Jinchuriki. "Little Yujito?" Naruto looked at the two Yujito ni. Yujito ni's expression didn't change. She got up and said, "Let's go, an interesting senpai should have come." Interesting. It's quite interesting, using stupid bastard as a catchphrase, and it's a super difficult to sing. Naruto and the two Yujinin walked into the courtyard and saw Killer Bee, Hachibi Ninja Jinchuriki, and his three apprentices coming in a mighty manner. Killer Bee had beige hair that was similar to Raikage's, and his hairstyle was the same as Raikage's. His hair was tied together and combed behind his head. He wore a Kumogakure headband on his head, and under the headband, there was a sexy little sunglasses. His skin was dark brown. He wore a one-shoulder slanted white ninja uniform unique to Kumogakure, and his arms and chest were bare inside. Another exhibitionist? Of course, the most eye-catching ones were the 7 ninja swords with red cloth wrapped around the hilts of the 7 swords on his back, the top 2, the left 3, and the right 2. Killer Bee had some dust on his body, and it seemed that he had just finished a task and came directly from outside. "Bastard! Stupid!" Killer Bee shouted, and then pointed at Naruto with his hands and said very exaggeratedly, "This little bean sprout. That's it. You took it. Apprentice? Little bean sprout?" From the height point of view, the person controlled by Naruto was 1.7 meters, and his body was very uniform, which can be said to be very standard. However, Killer Bee's height was more than 1.9 meters. In front of him, Naruto was really not that thick. But to be called a little bean sprout, although Naruto had the idea of needing Killer Bees, but at this time, he still respectfully said, "Killer Bee, sama." So Killer Bee started to rap again, and Naruto's head hurt. Compared to the funny Killer Bee, the 3 apprentices behind Killer Bee were much more normal. Killer Bee's apprentices were 2 women and 1 man. Among the 3, the girl with short blonde hair was the tallest, and her age looked similar to Yujito, and her figure was more hot. Killer Bee pointed to his disciple, then pointed to Naruto, and sang to the 2 Yujito nin, "Bastard, idiot, let your disciple do it. My apprentice. Let's fight. Let's see whose apprentice is stronger." Naruto looked at the 2 Yujito. The 2 Yujito nodded in agreement. "Okay." After getting the 2 Yujito's agreement, Killer Bee excitedly jumped up and pointed to another girl in the team. "Go. Karui." Karui was a girl with brown skin and red hair. After hearing Killer Bee's name, she excitedly pulled out her ninja sword. She was full of vigor. However, Naruto disarmed her at the beginning of the battle. The first battle ended with Naruto's victory. Killer Bee didn't show any disappointment, and he jumped even more happily. From Killer Bee's body, Naruto had a feeling of seeing Guy and Shaoli. Tesuke. I don't know what kind of stupid thing that stupid master and apprentice are doing now. Jumping 100 laps around a wood leaf? Or running upside down with both hands? Naruto was thinking, and Killer Bee sent out the second person, Omoi. It was a little boy with short white hair. He was very cute, and he had a lollipop in his mouth. His skin was brown, and his teeth were very white. However, after being called out, he showed a hesitant and timid expression. Even Karui lost. I definitely can't do it, the boy muttered. Then Killer Bee encouraged him with a rap. But the effect was very little. Killer Bee's apprentice lost again. Killer Bee began to praise Naruto, and then sent out the third person. It was the most mature girl. She was only a little shorter than Naruto. Her skin was white, and her figure looked very mature. Killer Bee was very imposing as he rapped, "Little Yujito, your apprentice. Very good. But, yes. Absolutely not. Sammy's opponent." Yujito didn't say anything. Naruto thought again. He was called a very strong opponent. Should he defeat him? Anyway, he even dodged Raikage's move. Defeating a ninja of Chunin's level shouldn't be a big deal, right? Hence, Naruto won the third round again. Killer Bee finally stopped jumping. His body was stiff as if he was petrified, and his hands were still posing. After being petrified for 3 seconds, Killer Bee suddenly held his stomach and stopped singing his catchphrase. However, he still had a singing voice. "Oh, I suddenly realized. My stomach. It hurts a little." Then, he waved his hand and said, "That. Little Yujito. Today's visit. That's it." Then, just like how he came, he rushed and rushed away. Killer Bee was so funny. Under his influence, even if Hachibi hadn't seen it, she could imagine it. Chapter 333. Start running. Don't stop. If you're tired now, don't even think about standing up for the rest of your life. So hold on. Perseverance is victory. And victory is right in front of you. On the high seas of the country of lightning, Nine Tails was roaring at the top of his lungs. Beside Nine Tails were a few girls who were so tired that they were about to dehydrate. They ran on the surface of the sea against the wind and waves, just to lose weight. It turned out that this kind of weight loss was not bad. The originally round and rolling bodies that looked like little piglets had disappeared and were replaced by healthy and beautiful bodies that could even be seen clearly. But because of the sea breeze and the sun every day, the originally fair and clean girls had all become charcoal balls. How dark were they? After the sun went down, night fell. Standing in the dark night and grinning, it was as if someone's big white teeth had become a spirit and was floating in the sky. It was so scary. Teacher Nine Llamas. It's almost a month. Have you guys succeeded in losing weight? Naruto asked Nine Tails through the spiritual network. Nine Tails answered very proudly, "We must have succeeded." Naruto heaved a sigh of relief. Although Naruto did not discriminate against fat people, it was too much to be that fat. It was a few 100 pounds, and their bodies were so round that they could not even see their legs when they looked down. It was really too much. Then Teacher Nine Llamas, can you share your vision with me and let me take a look? Nine Tails refused. There's still a week before the agreed time. I'll show you when the time is up. Nine Tails looked at the president and 01. These two were the most enthusiastic when they were eating, so they were the fattest. Now, their waists were still a little plump. Nine Tails was thinking of waiting for all the girls to train their waists. When the time came, he would let Naruto see that he was a fox that kept his word. He had to keep his promises. Unlike a certain someone who spoke like a fart. He clearly said that he would not threaten him with Mokuton. Tesuke. Naruto, thinking of this, Nine Tails became a little emotional. He replied impatiently, "Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. I'm busy here." After Nine Tails hung up, Naruto chatted with Hinata for a while. Hinata would reply to normal chats, but when it came to establishing a shared vision, Hinata refused. Teacher Nine Llamas said that I can't share my vision with you. There was one more thing that Hinata didn't say. If they shared their vision with Naruto, the training that day would be doubled. Hinata was so tired that she felt like she was going to die if she cultivated normally. If she multiplied by 2, she would die. Therefore, Hinata decided to listen to Nine Tails. Nine Tails did not agree to spiritual sharing, and neither did Hinata. Naruto was at his wits' end. If he was using his own body now, he would be able to see Hinata by virtue of the 5-star identity card that was bound to his body. However, this temporary body of his was only bound to a 1-star card. Should I look for Defei? Apart from Naruto, Defei was the only one with a 5-star identity card. Next, Naruto shook his head again, thinking that there was only a week left anyway. Since Nine Tails had agreed, there shouldn't be any more problems. After all, there were only 2 choices. In the worst-case scenario, they might get fatter. Those guys had already eaten so much that they would lose their human form if they got fatter. Hence, Naruto felt that it was impossible for them to get fatter. Since things couldn't get worse, they could only develop in a positive direction. There were no worries on Nine Tails' side. Hence, the most important thing now was to find a way to integrate Second Last and Eight Tails' chakra. On Second Last's side, Naruto had done enough homework. It could be said that he had taken out almost all the savings of the original owner of this body to buy all kinds of dried fish for Second Last to eat. There were also fresh fish. Naruto even personally cooked braised carp, sweet and sour carp, steamed fish, boiled fish, and so on. Anyway, Naruto had made all the fish cooking methods that he could think of. The effect was very obvious. Even the 2 Yugi Nin who were about to throw up from eating fish praised it. Naruto also met Second Last naturally. Now, he was just short of coming into contact with Second Last and devouring her soul power. Because devouring soul power would definitely attract the attention of the other party, Naruto decided to wait until he left before devouring. Naruto's sacrifice on Eight Tails' side was not small either. In order to get close to the silly Killer Bee, Naruto lied that he loved music and liked to rap. He even stole several music works from his previous life, lied that he composed them, and sang them to Killer Bee. After Killer Bee heard it, he was very touched and treated Naruto as a soulmate. Naruto also saw Eight Tails. He even sang with Eight Tails. To be honest, that was not a very good memory. Ding! Ring ring ring. The alarm clock on the dojo rang, and the 8 small fireballs floating in Naruto's hand merged together and then extinguished. This was the alarm clock for mealtime. Naruto should get up and cook. The ingredients were prepared in advance. A dish and a soup. Crispy yellow croaker rolls and lobster miso soup. Naruto's movements were smooth and he wrapped the yellow croaker that had been prepared in cooking wine with tofu skin. He turned on the hot pot, poured oil, and began to fry the fish. However, Naruto did not use gas. The 8 small fireballs under the ladle provided heat for the ladle. Using fire release in cooking, Naruto was definitely a dazzling wonder in the ninja world. However, he had to admit that this kind of fire was easier to control. After frying the fish rolls, the miso soup was ready, and Naruto's work was considered completed. Of course, there were other dishes, but those were not within the scope of Naruto's work. He was only responsible for cooking the fish. It smells so good. There's actually a new dish today. The 2 of them tasted the fish rolls. The fish rolls were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, smooth and delicious. The best thing was that there was no need to pick out the bones. That way they could eat it carefully. At the same time, Second Last was also smacking her lips in the sealed space, her eyes squinting into a line and her face full of enjoyment. From time to time, her small tongue would stick out and lick her lips, looking as if she was licking the fish. She took the initiative to contact Naruto through mental link and praised, "It's delicious. I'm definitely going to be your brother. If anyone bullies you in the future, tell me. I promise to teach them a lesson." Naruto flattered, "It's good that brother Yukari likes it. Don't worry, if there's a time when I need you, I'll definitely not be polite." Yes, he wouldn't be polite. That egg had swallowed a lot of Nine Tails' soul power and even made Nine Tails anxious. Later on, Shikaku didn't spoil it either. Before the meal was finished, the sound of lame rap came from outside. It was that guy, Killer Bee, who came. Idiot. Bastard. Little Yukari. Little Sarutobi. Yo. Killer Bee is here. Yo yo. Naruto had tried to change Killer Bee's colloquial phrase of stupid bastard, but he failed. Killer Bee walked into the room, swaying with exaggerated steps, with 2 tickets in his hand. Yo. Concert. Yo. Please give me your tickets. Killer Bee is going to hold a concert? Is there anything worse than this? After Killer Bee gave them the tickets, he didn't intend to leave. Instead, he began to rap and praise the delicious food. Thus, the two of them invited Killer Bee to take a seat. Second last complained, I definitely don't want to go to that idiot's concert. Yukari, as usual, take a mission and hide outside the village. Naruto wanted to bring him along, but, in the past few days, in order to get close to Killer Bee, he had already thrown away his integrity and said that he loved music. At this moment, Hachibi's mental link came in. Yo, concert. I'll sing too. Second last was speechless. Naruto was speechless. Yukari was speechless. Chapter 334. Woodleaf Ninja Village, Naruto's office. Jiraiya and Kakashi were confronting each other. Jiraiya didn't like Kakashi now, but sadly, there was no one he could use in Woodleaf. The result of the discussion with Sannin has come out, and Sannin has agreed to hold another Chunin exam in Woodleaf. Jiraiya stared at Kakashi, and Kakashi said, "Oh." Then he said listlessly, "Then what do you need me to do?" Jiraiya resisted the urge to beat Kakashi again and said in a commanding tone, "I want you to stay in Woodleaf, in Naruto's position." Kakashi said indifferently, "I'm not that kind of material, I can't protect anyone, and I don't have the ability to do so, it's better to find someone else." The blue veins on Jiraiya's forehead jumped violently. If Kakashi really didn't have the ability, then so be it. But Kakashi confused the water and lightning attributes into Mist Release Kekii Genkai, which is enough to prove his excellence. Moreover, Kakashi has the Sharingan, and he's White Fong's son. Jiraiya opened his mouth, but didn't say the harsh words he prepared. Naruto may still be alive. It was a very calm and soothing sentence, but in Kakashi's ears, it was like being struck by lightning. But he quickly denied it. Impossible. I was there when he died. Jiraiya sighed, that corpse. I restored the seal on the corpse. It's not the 8 trigram seal left by Minato. Kakashi asked, what do you mean? Jiraiya looked at Kakashi and said, it means, that corpse may be fake. Kakashi denied, impossible. The power of 9 tails can't be fake. Jiraiya sighed, that's what I don't understand. But there's one more thing. I have the key to the seal left by Minato, and Toad, who is responsible for looking after the seal, said, it can feel the seal is still there. Kakashi asked, where is Naruto now? Jiraiya rolled his eyes, and with a look of you ask me who should I ask expression, and said, I don't know. Kakashi thought for a moment. The gloominess in his eyes had disappeared, and it was replaced by hope again. But soon his brows wrinkled again. If he didn't die, then the accident. Jiraiya shook his head. Kakashi stopped talking and didn't continue. If Naruto didn't die, does that mean that Naruto was the one who directed the accident? If that's the case, then the death of Koharu and Mitokado Hamura. Does that mean Naruto did it? If that's the case, then Naruto is a traitor. What do you need me to do? Jiraiya pointed his chin at Naruto's seat behind him. Sit there. Kakashi's expression struggled. But in the end, he nodded. Jiraiya finally smiled with satisfaction. Well, you can leave now. There's nothing else for you to do. After Kakashi left, Jiraiya sighed. I really hope it's not Tsunade's doing. While restoring the seal on Naruto's corpse, Jiraiya also checked the cause of death of Mitokado Hamura and the Umbu ninjas around him. It was confirmed that they were poisoned. Secondly, there were no traces of other people at the scene. All of them died from killing each other. The only method to cause this result was Genjutsu or Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Poison. Tsunade. Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Kato. Tsunade used Edo Tensei to resurrect Kato. Then the whole thing became clear. But he didn't tell anyone the result. He was hesitating. In his heart, he still couldn't let go of the woman who took all of his wealth and ran away with another man. At this time, Jiraiya couldn't help but think of Naruto's words, if you like her, go after her. If you don't regret it later. Jiraiya admitted that he regretted it now. But Naruto and Tsunade, where did they go? Jiraiya was in a depressed mood. Kakashi, who had just left, turned back. No, I'm Naruto. This is my territory. You should be the one leaving, right? Jiraiya's expression stiffened. You're chasing me away? Kakashi quickly replied, No, Jiraiya roared, you're chasing me away. This time, without waiting for Kakashi to answer, Jiraiya began to beat Kakashi violently. At the same time, during this period of training, Kakashi was no longer the boy who didn't fight back. The two of them fought back and forth. He didn't even use his chakra, but his fists hit his flesh, and his face was swollen. The next day, Jiraiya went to the mist and invited them to participate in the Chunin exam. According to the itinerary, the next one was the Lightning Country, then the Earth Country, and the Rain Country. At the same time, in the Lightning Country, Naruto and the Nine Tails shared vision. Today was the last day of the weight loss plan, so Naruto came to check. Naruto saw the thin Hinata and the girls. They were thin. But what's with the dark color on their bodies? Did they encounter a squid in the sea? Then the squid launched an ink spray at them? How could it be so dark? Naruto only felt a buzz in his head. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? His brain completely froze, and he didn't know anything. Nine Tails was still showing off. What do you think? Am I a man of my word? Not only did I lose weight, but I also optimized my body according to your aesthetics, and I even refined my vest line. Naruto. Optimization? What optimization? Oh. Vest line. What's that again? Looking at the group of little black people, Naruto felt his consciousness become dull. Naruto originally thought there were only two choices between being fat and being thin. If you can't be fat, then the worst result is to stay the same, and the best result is to be thin. However, he found that he was too naive. Nine Tails actually dyed the white and clean girls black. Nine Llamas Sensei. Do I have a grudge against you? Naruto was very calm now, so calm that Nine Tails was very dissatisfied. In his opinion, Naruto should be happy now. He should praise him, reward him, apologize to him, and repent. Grudge. You actually used wood release to threaten me. I'm telling you, this is a big grudge. Naruto continued to stare in front of him. Oh. So you dyed them black to get back at me? Good. Very good. Just you wait. I'm already proficient in the nature change of the earth element, and wood release won't be far. Threatening me with wood release again. Nine Tails flew into a rage. What do you want, you brat? I've already asked them to lose their fat. Naruto gritted his teeth and said, Then why did you dye them black? Blame me for being fat. Blame me for being black? Nine Tails decided that he couldn't stand it and roared, Black is from the sun. Go find the sun if you can. Naruto was about to open his mouth. At this time, Nine Tails counterattacked again. If you use wood release to threaten me again, believe it or not, I'll fatten them up again. By then, they'll be black and fat. He. Naruto instantly received a critical hit of 100,000 points, KO. Chapter 335. Land of Lightning, Raikage's office. Raikage stared at a scroll from Woodleaf and fell into deep thought. The scroll said that Woodleaf wanted to reopen the Chunin exam. This was nothing. Over the years, when the major villages held the Chunin exam, they would send invitations to the other major villages. This showed their respect for the other major villages. In the past, he didn't even look at this kind of invitation, but this year was different. This year, under the invitation from Woodleaf, there was a sentence, saying that Jiraiya was coming to Kumogakure. Therefore, this was not only an invitation, but also a visit. Woodleaf. What are they doing? Woodleaf wanted to hold the Chunin exam, and Jiraiya wanted to come to Kumogakure. Raikage didn't know the news for long, but Naruto also knew. Thanks to Killer Bee, who used the news as a topic of conversation. Yo! Go to Woodleaf. Go to the door. Go to see Nine Tails. Yo! Killer Bee said with a bad rap. Nine Tails, who still maintained a spiritual link with Naruto, muttered, "I don't want to see you, idiot." Naruto was digesting the news that Jiraiya was coming. Why did Jiraiya come to the Land of Lightning? Did he find out that he was in the Land of Lightning? No way. No way. Naruto thought that he didn't leave any flaws. Even if there were flaws, he wouldn't come to the Land of Lightning to find him, but to the Land of Snow. So, is it to hold the Chunin exam? Since when did the Chunin exam become so important? Why did he visit in person? Naruto, Naruto? Killer Bee called twice, and Naruto finally returned to his senses. Ah! What's the matter? Killer Bee handed over the bowl of rice. Well, Naruto took the bowl and filled it with rice. The two Yujito Nin said, "It shouldn't be possible. The Chunin exam is a competition between allies. Kumogakure hasn't participated in this kind of work for a long time. But I'm more concerned about Jiraiya. Is he really as strong as the legends say?" Speaking of Jiraiya, Killer Bee rarely spoke without singing. "I don't know how strong Jiraiya is, but I fought with his disciple, Yondaime Naruto. That man is really strong. A person who can teach such a powerful disciple can't be weak. But I'm still more interested in meeting Nine Tails, Human Pillar Force, and Nine Tails at Woodleaf. Nine Tails and Nine Tails Human Pillar Force don't really want to see you." This time, it was Naruto's turn to complain. The two Yujito Nin didn't answer, so Killer Bee turned to look at Naruto. "Sarui, if you can go to Woodleaf, I'll recommend you to take the Chunin exam. I'll bet on you winning." Go back to Woodleaf? That sounds interesting. A week later, Jiraiya came to Kumogakure. Naruto, as the disciple of the two Yujito Nin and a good friend of Hachibi, was honored to follow them to greet Jiraiya, one of the Sannin of Woodleaf. At the same time, Kumogakure also entered a state of alert. Wahahaha! You guys are really enthusiastic. Jiraiya stood on top of Oily Toad's head, and Oily Toad jumped high into the sky. Today, the weather in the Land of Lightning was very good. The sky was clear, and the sun was very bright and dazzling. Jiraiya shouted his long list of names. Mount Miyaboku Toad Sennin, the white-haired boy of Sannin who is invincible in the whole world regardless of north, south, east, and west. What can make a child stop crying? The long list of names was like an old lady's foot wrapping cloth. Naruto felt ashamed and had goosebumps just listening to it. However, Killer Bee's eyes were shining, and he picked up a small notebook and a pen and quickly recorded it. Naruto secretly said, "Not good. Killer Bee's narcissism is already uncomfortable enough. Does he have to add Jiraiya's Chunibyu attribute? What are you doing?" Naruto stayed away from Killer Bee and leaned toward the two Yujito Nin. Killer Bee praised, "What a powerful sentence. If I shout like this before a fight, I'll feel good." Yes. Also add in the form of rap. Shout before a fight? Also add in rap? The picture was so beautiful that Naruto couldn't even imagine it. Oil Toad's huge body finally landed, and Jiraiya stood firmly on top of Oil Toad's head with his hands on his waist, looking very arrogant. However, Naruto was very happy to see such a lively Jiraiya. He was worried that Jiraiya would be depressed because of Tsunade's elopement with her ex-boyfriend. It seems that he underestimated Jiraiya's big heart. "Do any of you want my autograph? My autograph is still very valuable." Jiraiya took out a pen. Who would want that kind of thing? When Naruto was dismissive, a group of people rushed up. There was even Killer Bee among them. Well, Naruto admitted that he underestimated Jiraiya's fame. No matter what, Jiraiya is also a writer. Naruto couldn't help but think of Kakashi. He didn't know if Kakashi-sensei would still hold Jiraiya's books all day long. He thought of Kakashi, and then thought of Sasuke. He thought of the different Team 7. His days in Woodleaf were not too bad now. And that guy Dingji, He didn't know if that fat guy continued to use the Gibbon technique. Is Tooth Inuzuka's dog still eating the dog food formula he gave him? Shikamaru Nara hasn't been promoted to Jonin yet, so he should be happy now. Xiao Li and his stupid master must be sweating their youth. Thinking about it, Naruto suddenly wanted to go to Wood Leaf to see those guys. If Kumogakure could take the Wood Leaf Chunin exam, then he could secretly bully those guys. It would be interesting to think about it. Jiraiya-sama, I want to take a picture with you. A silly boy carrying a camera shouted in the crowd. Then the scene became more lively. But Naruto also knew that this was just a facade. In the dark, Kumogakure's Umbu had gathered. If they found something wrong, they would swarm up. This was also the reason why Hachibi Human Pillar Force and Nibi Human Pillar Force came together to greet them. But fortunately, unpleasant things didn't happen. Everyone met in a friendly manner, signed their names, and took a picture. Then they walked all the way to the Reikage building. I feel that Jiraiya is an interesting person. Killer Bee, who didn't rap, was much cuter in Naruto's eyes. So he replied, "Have you read his book?" Killer Bee was taken aback and asked, "Have you read it?" Naruto really read a few pages in the store manager's study, and then the book was given to Kakashi. "I haven't read it." Killer Bee suddenly said, "Then let's buy a book and have a look." As he said that, he was about to pull Naruto to the bookstore. Naruto immediately changed the topic and said, "Shouldn't we pay more attention to whether Reikage-sama will agree to Wood Leaf's invitation now? You are very familiar with Reikage. Would you like to inquire about the news?" Chapter 336. Land of Lightning, Reikage's Office. Wood Leaf organized this Chunin exam to attract the attention of the Akatsuki. For this reason, the Cloud sent 2 Human Pillar Force. Reikage stared at Jiraiya. At this time, Reikage's expression wasn't as friendly as when Jiraiya first came in. His eyes were full of doubt and distrust. Jiraiya calmly looked at him and replied, "Before coming to Cloud, I went to the Mist first. The Mist has agreed to participate in this Chunin exam, and the Mizukage will be there in person." Reikage retorted, "That has nothing to do with Cloud's participation. In fact, because the Land of Lightning and the Land of Water are not far away, there are a lot of wars and hatred between the two countries. How can I believe that you don't have a secret plan with the Mist? On the one hand, you divert our main force, and on the other hand, the Mist will take advantage of this?" Jiraiya replied, "Because Wood Leaf not only invited the Mist and Cloud, but also invited Rock and Sand. At that time, the 5 major villages will gather in Wood Leaf. In this case, you don't need to worry about Wood Leaf's little tricks, because Wood Leaf can't offend the other 4 villages at the same time. And Wood Leaf doesn't have the ability to unite the 4 major villages to deal with Cloud." The two looked at each other for a long time, and the confidence in Jiraiya's eyes made Reikage nod secretly. Confidence is confidence in his own strength. Even if he is in a tiger's den, he won't change his expression. Calmness is because he has the strength, and also because he is telling the truth. Calmness is naturally based on confidence and calmness. The stronger the person, the sharper the intuition. The 4th Reikage could feel that Jiraiya wasn't lying. But that's not enough. "Are you going to Iwagakure next? If you can invite Iwagakure, Cloud will consider it." The 4th Reikage's expression relaxed, and he didn't say anything. Jiraiya said, "I hope you can think about it carefully. The core members of the Akatsuki are all S-class ninjas from the major shinobi villages. These dangerous people gathered together must not be underestimated." The 4th Reikage calmly said, "It's natural that we can't underestimate them, but we don't have any S-class ninjas in Kumogakure. In other words, these people may have been treated unequally by the other 4 villages, and then they want to gather together to launch revenge on you. If that's the case, Kumogakure can't find a reason to get involved in this mess. Go ahead. If you want Kumogakure to show their attitude, then Kumogakure's attitude is not to participate." The conversation came to an end. Jiraiya didn't stay in Kumogakure and left directly. This result was quickly passed from Killer Bee's mouth to Naruto's ears. If Kumogakure doesn't participate, then his idea of taking the Wood Leaf Chunin exam as a Kumogakure ninja will fail. Naruto was somewhat disappointed. After all, it was interesting to pretend to be a Kumogakure ninja and go to Wood Leaf. At noon the next day after Jiraiya left, Naruto finally decided to make a move on Nibi and Hachibi. Naruto drugged the fish for lunch, a drug that can affect chakra's normal extraction. Unfortunately, Killer Bee didn't come to eat for some reason. Yujito Wani-san, try today's boiled fish. How does it taste? Yujito Nibi tasted the food as usual and praised, "It's delicious, but a little spicy." Watching Yujito Nibi eat the drugged fish, the last hesitation in Naruto's heart disappeared. After all, he's not Sarui, he's Naruto. He can pretend to be Sarui for a month, but he can't pretend forever. However, parting is imminent. Naruto's heart was still somewhat reluctant. Yujito Nibi ate a few more mouthfuls of fish before noticing that Naruto didn't move his chopsticks. She urged, "Don't just watch me eat." Naruto smiled, but his smile was uglier than crying. Yujito Wani-san. Even if there were thousands of words in his heart, he couldn't say it. "I'm sorry. I'll apologize to you later." With that, a rune line climbed from under the table to the bodies of the two Yujito Nibi. The black rune seal covered the entire body of Yujito Nibi in the blink of an eye. The two Yujito Nibi struggled subconsciously, but their bodies were completely imprisoned and couldn't move at all. And chakra couldn't be used normally. The two Yujito Nibi stared at Naruto. Naruto took a deep breath and apologized. "Actually, I'm not Sarui. I'll explain this matter to you next time we meet." With that said, Naruto's hand seals, and the rune line became more complicated under Naruto's control, forming a complete seal. The two Yujito Nibi fainted. Sorry. Naruto's mental strength invaded the spiritual world of the two Yujito Nibi, then found second last sealed space and linked his mental strength to second last. Naruto's soul power projection appeared in front of second last. Second last stared at Naruto. At this moment, Naruto's body was wrapped in clouds of soul power, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. It was as if he was shrouded in clouds. Sensing Naruto's aura, second last asked with uncertainty, "You're Sarui?" Naruto answered, "That's me. I've encountered a problem now, and I'd like to borrow Brother Matatabi's power." Second last lowered her head and stared at Naruto with her huge cat face formed by dark blue flames. This time, she felt another familiar aura from Naruto. She interrogated, "Why do you have the aura of 9 tails on you?" Naruto raised his hand and pressed it on the round cage. "Inject chakra into my body and you'll know the answer." Second last's Matatabi did not inject chakra into Naruto's body directly. Instead, she reminded him in advance, "Not everyone can touch my chakra. Are you sure you want me to inject my power into your body? That could cost you your life." Naruto smiled and asked, "Don't you want to know the answer?" Second last finally controlled chakra and said, "Don't die." Naruto sighed and thought to himself, "What a kind cat. She's still thinking about me at this juncture." However, Naruto did not take second last soul power for nothing. Didn't he become her chef for a month? Even 9 tails didn't receive such treatment. Second last's chakra surged out of the cage and Naruto felt a wave of heat. It was a burning sensation. It was as if he was putting his face on the stove. However, Egi did not seem to have any reaction. In the spiritual network, Naruto contacted 9 tails and said, "Teacher 9 Lamas, can you do it or not? Is there any movement in the egg? Should I summon my original body?" Just as 9 tails was about to answer, second last's chakra actually found the connection between Naruto and 9 tails. Second last said smugly, "I knew it. How dare ordinary people take my power? It's indeed you, you old fox." At the same time, Egi lit up with white light and a furry paw extended out of the egg, grabbing second last that was made up of chakra. 9 tails snorted with laughter and said, you're still as stupid as before, huh? Don't you know that curiosity killed the cat? Chapter 337. Ninetails shrank back in the cage when he saw the white claws reaching for Nibi Matatabi. Nibi Matatabi looked at the white claws vigilantly, but it was too late to dodge. The white claws stuck to her body and elongated into a white silk thread, extending directly into Nibi's sealed space along the spiritual network. Feeling the power in her body weakening, Nibi was frightened. 9 llamas. What the hell are you doing? 9 llamas replied, it's just swallowing some of your soul power. Don't be too nervous, you'll recover in a year and a half. How could Nibi sit still and wait for her death? She used chakra to launch a counterattack against the strange white thread. However, the white thread or the white tentacle was not affected at all. Instead, chakra was being swallowed even faster. Nibi turned to look at Naruto and yelled, Naruto, make this thing stop. Naruto smiled embarrassedly. Brother Matatabi, I've been cooking for you for a month. This little bit of soul power, just take it as my salary. Don't worry, it won't cause you much harm. In less than half a year, you'll definitely be as strong as you are today. Matatabi roared, but the momentum of her body shrinking could not be stopped. Matatabi had no choice but to spread out her mental strength and contact Hachibi. Bull Spirit, come and help. Matatabi found Hachibi, who said to Killer Bee, that guy seems to be asking me for help. Killer Bee asked curiously, that arrogant guy actually asked you for help? Hachibi said affirmatively, he said he wants me to help. Killer Bee asked, what are you waiting for? Killer Bee put down the book in his hand and rushed out of the window. Ninetails had been paying attention to Nibi, so when Nibi asked Hachibi for help, he reminded Naruto, be careful, this good-for-nothing guy is asking Bull Spirit for help. Naruto was shocked, but soon calmed down. 9 Llamas Sensei, can you see if the hexagon on the egg has changed? Ninetails carefully probed Eggy with his spiritual power. The 6-pointed star on the giant egg had disappeared and was replaced by a white halo. There were 5 golden threads wrapped around the halo. The 5 golden threads were evenly distributed and were not connected to each other. Ninetails and Naruto shared their vision, so Naruto also saw the changes on the giant egg. How did the hexagram turn into a circle? However, this was not important. What was important was that he saw 5 golden threads on the circle. In other words, one of them was newly fused by him. The giant egg was still devouring, and Killer Bee broke into the house of the 2 Yujito. As soon as he entered the house, he saw 2 people sitting on either side of the dining table. Sarui's body fell down, and the 2 Yumu puppets' bodies remained in the same position as before they were sealed. The only difference was that his eyes were closed. Little Sarui, little Yujito. Killer Bee rushed to the 2 of them. Seeing that they were still breathing, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. But at this moment, Matatabi screamed, what are you all standing there for? Save me. Killer Bee tried to establish a spiritual link with Matatabi, but it failed. Matatabi's spiritual power was extremely unstable. They could only hear Matatabi's screams from time to time. Soon, even the screams stopped. When Matatabi's spiritual power stabilized again, Bull Demon and Killer Bee successfully established a spiritual link with her. Then they saw Matatabi, whose body had shrunk to half its original size. Bull Demon's eyes were wide open, and he asked in a muffled voice, what happened? Matatabi felt as if her body had been hollowed out. She curled up in a corner, extremely tired. It's okay. It's over. What's over? Killer Bee and Bull Demon asked again, but Matatabi didn't say anything. It's okay. I just had a nightmare. Tailed beasts had nightmares? This reason was really lame. Bull Demon and Killer Bee still wanted to ask, but Matatabi cut off the spiritual link. At this time, Naruto's figure reappeared. Matatabi said pitifully, what you said just now was the truth? You borrowed my power for a period of time, and you'll return it to me? Nine-Tails' soul power projection appeared. Of course it's the truth. We're immortal. What are you worried about? Matatabi heaved a sigh of relief. She lay in the cage and whimpered, I thought I was going to die just now. Nine-Tails wanted to laugh at Matatabi, but he suddenly remembered how scared he was when part of his soul power was swallowed. But on second thought, this didn't seem to affect him from laughing at her. Look at you. In half a year's time, I guarantee you'll recover. But don't mention to anyone that we came here. Wait until your human pillar force wakes up. Nine-Tails used his spiritual power to talk to Naruto privately. What about that human pillar force? Naruto said indifferently, as long as Matatabi doesn't mention you, even if they know that something is wrong, they won't be able to guess it's me. And, as long as you survive for a period of time, when your half-body is resurrected, no one will have any doubts about the cause of my death. After all, they won't expect you to be split in half. After explaining to Matatabi, Naruto left. Before leaving, Kyuubi said to Tsuyu, You brat, don't spill the beans. If you spill the beans, I won't return the chakra to you, and I will come back to beat you up. You can't take it anymore. Matatabi nodded obediently. Outside Kumogakure, Nine-Tails controlled Naruto's body to greet Naruto. Naruto joked, Nine Llamas, Sensei, why don't you control my body to escape? Nine Llamas said proudly, Why should I escape? You're my apprentice. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Naruto took control of the body again and took a step forward, but his body rushed dozens of meters away. Naruto was shocked because he didn't use any force. Nine Llamas, Sensei, what did you do to my body? Nine-Tails snorted, It's just a little exercise. Don't make a fuss. A little exercise? Naruto has been forging for nearly a year, but he didn't have such an effect. He raised his hand and touched his body again. His body wasn't very exaggerated, but the particularly strong muscles felt cool. Cool with strength. Naruto suddenly thought of something. Is it because I'm losing weight? Nine-Tails replied proudly, How about it? Do you want to lend me your body more in the future? I promise I'll make this body even stronger. Naruto replied quickly, Okay, I'll have this opportunity soon. Nine-Tails was excited. Really? Originally, Nine-Tails really wanted to control Naruto's body to run away, but he didn't because he felt that he couldn't run away. Now that he heard there was a chance to get some fresh air, how could he not be happy? Naruto replied, Killer Bee got information from Raikage that the Mist will participate in the Wood Leaf Chunin exam. I plan to invade the Mist, control someone, and return to Wood Leaf to play. Chapter 338. In the Land of Lightning, Naruto sped towards the port. From there, he could take a boat directly to the Land of Water. By the way, what did you do to my body? Naruto tried to control his body, but a little carelessness caused him to step on the ground, creating a deep pit. Naruto had no choice but to spread out chakra and run on the land as if he was walking on water. Nine-Tails casually replied, I just ate well, drank well, and slept well. This sentence was complete nonsense. Under Naruto's repeated questioning, Nine-Tails finally told him about hunting ninja beasts and barbecuing them for the girls. Nine-Tails said very proudly, These are just some weak ninja beasts. The enhancement to the human body is limited. If you can kill the leader of the group of toads and eat it, it will be delicious for the body. How about it? Do you want to try? The leader of the toads? You're not talking about the toad in Mount Mayaboku, are you? Nine-Tails nodded and said, Yes. That's the toad in Mount Mayaboku. I've eaten the little toad once. It was delicious. Yes, there are also the snakes in the Ryuchi cave. It's definitely good to make snake soup with them. Naruto's mouth twitched when he heard this. Is that possible? If I remember correctly, that old toad taught Rikudo, right? Too lazy to talk nonsense with Nine-Tails, Naruto rushed on while familiarizing himself with his body. In the sealed space of 9 tails, 9 tails looked at Naruto's soul outside the cage in a daze. After fusing with Nibi's soul, Naruto's soul made him feel a sense of oppression. A person's soul actually made him feel oppressed. This kind of thing can only be done by the Uchiha clan using the Manjikyu Sharingan. Other than that, only Rikudo can do it. Of course, Naruto's current soul can't be compared with Rikudo's, but it's hard to say if he continues to fuse. 9 Tails couldn't help but mutter, if this kid were to learn illusions. With his immense spiritual power, he should be very powerful, right? At this moment, Naruto's soul suddenly opened its eyes. Teacher Ninth Lamas, what did you say is very powerful? Naruto's consciousness suddenly entered 9 Tails' sealed space, giving 9 Tails a fright. He chuckled and said, "No, I was just mumbling. I didn't say anything." Now that Naruto Tion had threatened it with would release, what would happen if it really learned illusion techniques? For the sake of his own safety and dignity, 9 Tails decided to bury his previous thoughts in his heart and never say a word. Naruto looked at 9 Tails suspiciously and said, "All right, the port is right in front of us. Let's part ways here. But I have to say this first. This time, you're not allowed to cause any trouble for me." Trouble, of course, he was talking about the women getting fatter and darker. 9 Tails hurriedly promised, "Those were accidents." Really? Naruto was too lazy to pay attention to 9 Tails and continued, "Also, you can only use the spiritual network to call chakra in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory." 9 Tails continued to promise, "You can rest assured that I will never expose myself." After explaining to 9 Tails, Naruto left his body with spirit transformation and disappeared into the ground in the blink of an eye. A week later, Naruto arrived at the water country. Using the same trick, he waited outside the mist village and waited for the mist ninjas to come out. For 7 days, Naruto didn't see a team coming back from the outside, only one team coming out from the inside. Naruto didn't do anything because he wanted to go inside. But soon he regretted it. What the hell is this place? Why are there so few people? Aren't they all dead? Naruto complained and muttered, "Next time, no matter if it's coming out or coming in, I will do it." In order to avoid being discovered, Naruto couldn't practice at all during the period of hiding, so the time became very difficult to pass. At this time, in the fog, the leaves rustled, accompanied by faint footsteps. Naruto was shocked and became alert. After identifying the direction, he quietly approached. It was a small team of 4 people who were rushing out of the village. Should he attack? Naruto still wanted to find someone to go back to the village directly, but he didn't know how long he would have to wait. Attack. The moment one of the ninjas touched the ground, Naruto's spirit body drilled out of the ground along the guy's leg and drilled into the guy's body in the blink of an eye. This time, it was smoother than the time when he invaded the Thunder Village. After Naruto lived in this body, the soul power only hit once, and it broke the control of the soul of the original owner of this body. No. Not only did he get the control, but the soul of the original owner of this body was also erased. Why is this guy so weak? Naruto was a little suspicious. Naruto touched the man's soul, but the scene of him devouring the soul didn't appear. It can be confirmed that the thing that has been devouring souls is the egg. The team rushed all the way and only stopped after nearly 5 hours of running. Along the way, no one whispered to each other, everyone was very focused, which was completely different from the Wood Leaf's mission. However, Naruto felt that this was more like the style of a ninja. After the team stopped, the captain began to assign tasks. The captain was a little small, wearing the Umbu mask of the mist, short white hair, and a double-handled sword wrapped in bandages on his back. One of the 7 ninja swords of the Mist Village. Then, even if this person can't see his face, he can guess that he is young but very good, trusted by the Mizukage. Chojuro took out 3 scrolls and handed them to the 3 people. This is the mission, destroy it after reading it. The mission was actually issued after leaving the village. This confidentiality work is much better than Wood Leaf. Naruto took the scroll, opened it, and was surprised. He saw the cute Sasuke-san. The scroll continued to unfold. There were 4 people behind, the 4 people of Otogekure who should have died but didn't die. The cursed state can grow 6 arms, shoot spider silk, and attack long-range shooter Devil Child Maru. The cursed state's power is enhanced, and he is good at Earth Release Seal technique. In the cursed seal state, a parasitic body can be split from the body to the right and left. The cursed state has 2 horns on the head, and he can control the 3 transformed people with the sound waves of the flute. Coupled with the powerful Sasuke who can fly and has the curse of the heavens. Well, if he doesn't meet these 4 people of the mist, it's likely that they will be wiped out. From Naruto's point of view, the only one with decent strength in the mist village was Choju Juro. However, Naruto is still looking forward to meeting Sasuke. Well, I have to find a way to help the mist ninja find Sasuke. Taking advantage of the 5-minute break, Naruto summoned a 1-star card and then bound the card to the body. Binding successful, skipping the novice tutorial, Naruto's eyes floated with a circle of light. Naruto contacted Dabi, "Give me the authority to open this account." Dabi replied, "What authority?" Naruto, "Chakra Unlimited Authority, I want to open a huge perception barrier." Chapter 339. Kirigakure's people may not be able to find Otogekure's ninja. But with Naruto, it's different. The perception barrier was opened, 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 50 kilometers. Naruto's thoughts were linked with the perception barrier, and his field of vision suddenly widened. In fact, this level of perception barrier generally uses a water ball as the middle medium, and Ninja judges the situation by the reaction of the water ball. Because the perception barrier scanned too much information, a huge amount of information was stuffed into people's minds, and those with low spiritual power could even be stuffed into a fool. Therefore, only Naruto can use the perception barrier like this. No. There is also Jiraiya's Tengai formation. The picture within 50 kilometers was reflected in Naruto's mind, every leaf swaying, every breeze blowing, and even every insect breathing. It was all in his mind. Naruto didn't feel the slightest discomfort. He followed Kirigakure's ninja on a mission to search for Otogekure's traces. Half an hour later, the target was found. However, the other party retreated the moment he stepped into Naruto's perception barrier. Apparently, he discovered Naruto's perception barrier. The people trained by Orochimaru are very good. This is the first time that the perception barrier was discovered. Even when he was in Kumogakure, it wasn't discovered. Of course, Naruto used it carefully in Kumogakure. But how can I remind these people? After all, the target is 50 kilometers away. While Naruto was worried, an arrow came straight from a distance. The target was Naruto. This arrow was not caught by the perception barrier, but Naruto saw it with his naked eye. Naruto wanted to hide. His spiritual power could react, but his body couldn't keep up. However, Naruto wasn't worried. He could just change his body. Just when Naruto was about to move, a katana swept over, and the arrow was cut in 2. The direction of the first half of the arrow was affected, and it brushed past Naruto's ear and shot behind him. Hey! Hey! The power of the broken arrow was so great that it pierced through countless tree trunks before it stopped. The enemy was very powerful. This was to be expected. Unexpectedly, Executive Jakuro was also very strong. Interesting, however, Chajuru alone couldn't deal with 5 people who could use curse seals. Moreover, there was also Sasuke here. Naruto withdrew the perception barrier. The reason he hadn't been able to dodge that arrow was because of his physical fitness, but also because of the perception barrier. After all, most of Naruto's attention was focused on the perception barrier. Then, he drew his saber. Naruto stroked the mist's standard ninja sword and was a little surprised. It's much better than Konoha's. Soon after, the second arrow was shot. It was faster than the last time, but this time, Naruto dodged it. Naruto raised his hand to test the change in Chakra's nature. The Yang, Earth, and Fire elemental skills were useless, but the Wind elemental skills could be used, and the water elemental skills were the most flexible. Obviously, the original owner of this body was good at water elemental skills, and a little wind elemental skills. Could he deal with one of the opponents? Naruto wanted to try. Wind chakra erupted, and the wind release body flicker technique, which he hadn't used for a long time, burst out, and a blood mark appeared on his back. Naruto ignored it and went into the forest to approach the boy who shot the arrow. Tut, tut, tut. 3 arrows were shot. Naruto's speed soared as he forcibly dodged and continued to approach the enemy. 100 meters, 50 meters, 10 meters. The arrows were getting denser and denser. Naruto dodged one after another. He appeared in front of Devil Child Maru. At this time, Devil Child Maru was holding his bow and arrow, and his body had entered the second curse seal state. Your arrow is not fast enough. Naruto's speed broke out again, and he slashed Devil Child Maru from behind, and said, "You will work for me from now on." Chakra's wind elemental skill was poured into the ninja blade, and this slash was very fast, but an earth wall suddenly rose and blocked in front of Naruto. If Naruto's original body was here, this earth wall would not be difficult for him. Whether it was his control over Chakra's wind elemental skill, or his azure sleeve sword, he could easily penetrate it. But this body and the weapon in his hand limited his performance. Clang! The sword slashed the earth wall, and the earth on the surface of the earth wall fell, and there was actually a rock inside. The iron sword and the rock collided, and sparks flew everywhere. Devil Child Maru, you were careless. In Jiro Square, a bald fatty with only 3 yellow hairs in the middle and 2 sides of his head clasped his hands and shouted. Obviously, this earth wall was his work. Naruto praised, "Inside the earth release is rock release. Very good, you are very good, I like you very much." Jiro Square changed his hand seals, and the earth on the ground flowed and wrapped Naruto from all directions. The best design was that the earth under his feet quickly sank, so Naruto lost his place to borrow strength. Then the earth closed together and formed a mound. Earth escape, enchantment, earth prison, nothing. Combining barrier ninjutsu with earth release? Interesting. Zhalongfang laughed heartily and said, "Hee hee, a brat who only knows how to talk big can just stay inside." Devil Child Maru didn't appreciate it and said, "Mind your own business." At this time, Chojuro and the other Umbu of the Mist Village arrived. The double-bladed flounder in his hand was constantly injected with Chakra's wind elemental skill, and then he looked at the mound that sealed Naruto. At this time, the sound of a flute sounded, and a 3-meter-tall giant with a mace rushed in front of Chojuro. The mace and the double-bladed flounder clashed. Ding! The sound of metal screeching sounded for a moment, and then the huge mace was broken by the double-bladed flounder. Chojuro used the double-bladed flounder to attack the mound that sealed Naruto again. At this time, a long sword seemed to appear out of thin air and collided with it. It was Sasuke. It's only been a few months, but Sasuke's face has faded and was replaced by a cold face. The explosion sounded, and the 2 chakras' wind elemental skill collided with each other. At this time, no one noticed that there was a hole in the wall of the mound that sealed Chojuro. Naruto quietly climbed out, and then the hole healed and grew back at a speed visible to the naked eye. The idea of ninjutsu is good, but the barrier is too simple and full of loopholes. Naruto restrained his aura and found a good branch and began to watch the fun. The smoke dissipated, Sasuke and Chojuro stared at each other, and then burst into speed and collided with each other again. At the same time, the sound of flute sounded, and the giant without the mace turned to deal with the Umbu of Mist Village. Devil Child Maru, draw his bow. In just one round, the Umbu of Mist Village was obviously not the opponent of Otogekure. In particular, a monster with 2 heads suddenly appeared behind them. It was Sasuke and Sasuke in his body. Naruto passed the battle in front of him to 9 Tails. 9 Llamas, Sensei, what do you think of these 4 people from Otogekure? 9 Tails replied, "It's a bit interesting." Naruto smirked, "Then let's kill them and use Edo Tensei." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.